4 yards to give yourself a shot of making a tying field goal to send it to.
And let's be heard. The final gun has sounded. Now it's your turn to hear and be heard. The Huskers are headed to the locker room, and we're ready to give you all the post-game info and opinion. It's Big Red Overreaction, the first live postgame show featuring the most important voice of all, you the Husker fan. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, and by Equitable Bank. Also by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Get on the line now at 402-951-1620 and sound off on Big Red Overreaction. Live on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The K.
Are we on? I'm on. Are we here? I'm here. Hello, everybody. I just got to turn my headphones up so I can hear myself a little bit better. Good evening, everybody. Well, we have seen yet another long streak, and believe it or not, it's the oldest and longest streak out there.
Really?
Over the last 20 years of streaks that have come to an end, this one's literally the longest, Ravi Lulla, because it dates to the beginning of the stadium, 1923.
It goes all the way back.
This is in the history of Memorial Stadium, which was built in 1923.
Oof.
Nebraska was 214-0 when scoring 35 points in Memorial Stadium. 214-0.
That's unbelievable.
Until tonight, when Georgia Southern, a 22-point underdog,
Yeah.
beat Nebraska 45-42.
That, I believe, leaves just the FCS streak. That's the only one.
I mean, technically the solid streak is still there, blah, blah, blah. But seriously, yeah. And the FCS streak only dates back to the 70s because that's when they divided the Division I into one.
But that's the last one I'm aware of.
214-0 when they had scored 35 points. And that's the scary thing is when it mattered the most, Nebraska's defense could not stop a head cold. They couldn't stop anything. The final numbers,
they had to be
on
over
third downs, 9 of 13. They also allowed 2 out of 2 fourth down conversions. They gave up 7.5 yards a play, 7.8 yards per rush. And despite the fact, and here's another one, Nebraska was +2. Not +1. They were +2 on turnovers and committed 0 turnovers and gave up 45 points to Georgia Southern.
And well over 600 yards of total offense, right?
642 yards of total offense from Georgia Southern.
And let's not kid ourselves here. I don't think anybody's still doing the close game narrative, but if you are, this certainly doesn't count.
Well, and this is not the show for you.
And yeah, this is not going to be a good time for you because we're not hearing it.
No.
We're not here. And I can't imagine anybody's talking about that right now, but I wanted to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Because
that's a good idea to get ahead of it.
Because we're going to be shutting that down right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because first of all, Nebraska got incredibly lucky with some calls. At the end of the first half, Georgia Southern probably was going to score points there. Yeah. Touchdown or field goal.
Yeah.
They got incredibly lucky on the catch call with Washington.
Mm-hmm.
They got incredibly lucky with the fumble call with Logan Smothers.
Yeah.
They had some things go in their favor.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're talking about these one-score losses where it's like, oh, well, they called that a fumble on the field and it couldn't be overturned.
This was an error. That was exactly.
You had these little things here and there. Nebraska got all those today for the most part.
Uh-huh.
And they still lost to a Georgia Southern team that was running the triple option 6 months ago.
That's the other part of it that should be mortifying right now. I mean, Georgia Southern went through even a more dramatic transformation
It's the most
in the offseason than Nebraska did.
It's the most dramatic thing you can do is go from a triple option to an air raid.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, those are the farthest things apart offensively you can do
on the
football.
offensive spectrum outside of maybe the single wing, which they don't run anymore.
Yeah, like those are.
But yes, they had to bring in all new guys. They need to bring in a new quarterback. Of course, Clay Helton, a brand new
coaching staff.
And a new coaching staff. They went through more changes than Nebraska.
They went through more changes than anybody. I mean, that is as much change as you can go through.
And they came out of Lincoln with a W as a 22-point underdog.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unbelievable. I didn't really imagine a scenario where Nebraska actually lost this game. I guess I knew in my head it was possible. I didn't think they were going to cover. I mean, I've mentioned this before. I think Nebraska being favored by 3 touchdowns over anyone at this point in the Scott Frost experience is laughable. But the fact that they actually lost, and honestly, like you said, Georgia Southern was -2 on turnovers. It's not like they got fluky things to go their way. It's not like they had, a weird special teams touchdown and, some turnovers or a couple batted passes that ended up being a pick 6 or something like that. Georgia Southern just put up 650 yards of total offense on Nebraska. I mean, it was 640 and change, right?
They punted once.
I'm gonna go ahead and, if you'll allow me, I'm gonna round it up to 650 for the purposes of this show.
Go for it.
650 yards of total offense and 45 points from a Georgia Southern team that likely will not win the Sun Belt. This is not like Coastal Carolina is going to win the Sun Belt, most likely.
Yeah.
This is not the cream of the crop group of 5. This is a changing regime, total rebuild group of 5 school.
Nebraska had 3 tackles for loss for 3 yards of lost yardage. Those were the only negative plays
outside of the
interceptions that they were able to get all night long.
And no sacks, correct?
No sacks.
That's why I didn't get a Big Mac at McDonald's. I got chicken nuggets instead.
Smart call.
Didn't go Big Mac there.
Well, folks, here we go. 402-951-1620, Los Hills Harley-Davidson hotline. 402-951-1620. John at 1620thezone.com if you want to hit us up, Equitable Bank inbox. And the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed at BR Overreaction. This Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally, by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, and by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. We are on standby right now for the Scott Frost post-game press conference. We will go to that as soon as we have it. I know many of you have asked or will be asking, will there be a Trev Alberts press conference? I doubt it. I highly doubt it.
Unless somebody walked into his suite after the game with a $15 million check.
And I think they are. I think the tweet just came in there, Dan. And
pulling it up now.
All right. I believe Scott Frost is already at the podium.
We've seen. I don't think we won very many one-on-one matchups. Just looking at it, they got inside us on slants when we were supposed to inside technique, and broke a couple tackles. I said at halftime, I don't think we had enough eyes on the ball in a couple of our coverages and guys rallying to the ball well enough. Ran some tunnel screens on us that we didn't get back out of it on the defensive line, but that's not supposed to happen.
Can you sell the notion of progress in your program after a loss like this?
Yeah, to the season, felt good about our offense. I knew it would take a while for our offense to start clicking. I thought they did pretty well tonight. Thought the defense made a lot of progress last week. That was a major setback.
Did you consider going for the 4th and 1 there early in the second half, the way it was starting just to back everyone to score?
I did. It was 4th and short on our, but at that point in the game, we weren't going to win if we didn't get a stop anyway. And turns out that we got the lead and put ourselves in position to win and didn't get it done.
It's probably impossible to answer on the But I mean, how can you put this together when the defense, it just feels like it's kind of in shambles right now, the outsiders? How can you do it on the fly?
Well, we got a lot to look at, and looking forward to getting in the film room and looking at it. And I can spend some time with some more time with the defense and see what we can get fixed. I think in that game we probably had a notion that we could do pretty well in some of our base calls, and probably needed to mix up the looks a little bit because they were getting in the right thing for what we were in, and we didn't execute great.
What was the mood of the locker room when you have such a dichotomy? One side played really well, a 98-yard touchdown drive to take the lead. The other side was, how does that kind of settle out?
We win together, we lose together. There's obviously guys that are frustrated. All of us are frustrated after that one. I give them a lot of credit, give Clay a lot of credit, but we can't let it divide us. I think in the first game, offense could have played better and won, but we gave up too many points. I think in the second game, offense struggled in the first half, and the defense held us in it. So we got to play more complete games, and that wasn't even close.
How do you let the obvious outside noise that's going to come not seep into players?
Got to make sure it doesn't seep into players. I haven't listened to any of it for a long time. Got to make sure they don't. There's a lot of games left in this season, and this group can do well.
How did you think Casey played?
Made some big plays. Thought he played well. 42 ought to be enough to win almost every game you play. But again, we win together and lose together, and offense could have scored once more too, for sure. It's a team when you win, it's a team when you lose, and we got to keep together.
Where the defense at is that, are you kind of stunned by it? Do you think coming out of fall camp, you sort of had that group together?
Yeah, again, we win together and lose together. I was excited about what I saw in fall. I don't think we got off blocks very well. We got blocked up front and didn't get off blocks well enough. I expect more out of the group that I've been seeing for a long time.
Coach, it was another one-score game. Do you feel like just the notion of you guys have been so close in some of those one-score games, do you think that kind of set in the players' minds at all on the court?
It's funny that the new guys in the program don't even remember those things, and the old guys, I don't think have that attitude right now. We just simply didn't get a stop. We had a lot of chances to get a stop. We didn't get a stop. Special teams played well enough for sure. You can't give up that many yards and that many points and win very many games.
Coach, what do you say to the fans? They're watching and their impression of the program at this moment in your team.
I just appreciate it. It's fun being here. I'm blessed to be the coach here. I love this state and this program. I'm fighting with everything I have. So is the rest of the coaching staff. We do the march to victory and everything. And I know there's questions and negativity out there, but the people that I see at those things and the fans staying, it's unbelievable. So I appreciate the people that are with us. Thanks.
All right, there you go. Scott Frost wrapping up. And by the way, that I didn't put a watch on it, but that's one of the quickest turnarounds from the end of a game to the start of a press conference I can remember. That was pretty quick, which means there probably wasn't a lot of things said in the locker room.
What can you say? What can you say?
Well, the only thing you can say will always be perceived as negative.
Yeah,
but it's not negative. It's not negative. It's reality, ladies and gentlemen. This is a bad football program.
This is
that's now 1-2, and without Anthony Grant is 0-3.
100%. This is not a 9-3 team that we're crapping on because they can't get over the hump. This is a bad football team. Yeah. This has been a bad football team for a while. And listen, he can get that negativity comment out of my face. Yeah. It's the harsh reality of what his football program is. And listen,
this is who they are.
I'm going to take him at his word and say he is working his hardest. But if he's working his hardest, that's not good enough. Obviously, it has not been good enough.
You can work hard, but not work right.
If this is the best he can do, then that is obviously not good enough.
Right.
I mean, that's
you can work hard, but you but you can still not work right.
Like, listen, Rudy worked as hard as anybody. He's not going to the NFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, working hard is only part of the equation. You still have to do it right.
402-951-1620. For those of you joining us on the drive back, 1019 The Keg on your FM dial. You'll be able to catch us all the way from Lincoln and beyond. Of course, 1620 AM, because it's always AM radio.
Always.
Even when the Huskers lose to
Georgia
a team
Southern
that just switched from the triple option to the
Air raid.
run and shoot, air raid. I keep wanting to say run and shoot because I'm stuck in the 90s.
A team that, by the way,
still AM radio.
I believe was paid $1.4 million to be here.
Oh, good. They got their money's worth.
Somebody tweeted that at me, so I believe that's if that's not accurate, that's what I was being told.
They got their money's worth.
Nebraska stays on trend.
That's right. They do.
On trend for the day.
$1.4 million.
1620thezone.com. You can watch along. We've got a ton of viewers online. You can watch us on 1620thezone.com and, of course, the 1620 The Zone mobile app. Got a full bank of calls, and we will get to them next, but we need to take a quick break, and we'll get right back to it, friends. Georgia Southern, 45. Nebraska, 42. It may have been the death knell of the Scott Frost era at Nebraska. More to come on 1620 The Zone's Big Red Overreaction.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Sunday morning is all about church, eggs, and the Sunday paper. But right next to church, it's made for hot takes and reactions. Severe Reactions. Michael Severe is back on 1620 The Zone with Severe Reaction. Sundays 8 to 10 and doesn't hold back on what went right and what went wrong on Saturday. He'll also take calls from the most important voice of all, yours. Severe Reaction. Sundays from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Powered by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Only on 1620 The Zone.
More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. Sound off. 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Stepping up as Casey's going to scramble to the 10, to the 5, to the end zone. Touchdown! What a nifty run by Casey Thompson, and the Huskers a PAT away from tying it up.
Yep. That's the last touchdown after Nebraska actually got a break. Couple breaks on that drive. Now, I mean, were they bad calls? No. But they were borderline calls. First, the fumble by Smothers. It was a borderline call. It could have gone either way.
Especially considering what the call on the field was.
Remember, the call on the field both times
fumble.
went against Nebraska.
The fact that they were both overturned with what we saw was a little surprising.
And then you had, it was Thompson, right? Or not Thompson, it was Washington, right? With the Des Bryant moment.
Yes, it was Washington in the end, right outside the end zone.
By the way, if anyone who is sitting in the West Stadium can please tell us if Josh Peterson is still with us, because I'm guessing he had PTSD watching that whole sequence, because it was very reminiscent of Des Bryant in the playoff game for the Cowboys.
Speaking of the stadium, I have a Twitter report saying that there were some fire frost chants in the stadium after the game.
Well,
I don't know if that's accurate. That's what I'm hearing on Twitter from people at the game.
Yeah, it's not terribly surprising at this point. 402-951-1620, Les Hills Harley-Davidson hotline. Folks have been waiting. Here is Kelsey. Is this Bake Our Cake, Kelsey?
It is.
Kelsey, I don't think we'll be baking any cakes this year.
I think you're right. I think that it's going to be consolation cookies.
You know what? I'm good with that. Consolation cookie, you good with that?
It's the best kind of cookie.
All right, we're up. We're up for it. Consolation cookie.
Cool. So I have 2 takes, and then I'm just going to hang up and listen. The first one is that I think Blue Cross Blue Shield really needs to rethink their billboard on I-80. And the second is it October 1st yet?
It will be in 21 days. Kelsey, thank you, my friend. Yeah. I don't remember when the Blue Cross Blue Shield billboard, and for those who are out of the listening area and aren't familiar, Blue Cross Blue Shield has a billboard that's on Interstate 80 around Harrison Street, over by the
by the Cabela's,
over by the Cabela's and the convention center that shows the score of each week's game. And I swear, ever since that billboard went up, Nebraska has been on the losing end more often than on the winning end. I can remember the billboard as long as I've been driving here, and I've been driving here for 10 years, for this job.
Yes.
So I think it may be time to retire that billboard. No offense, Blue Cross. I think you're great, but put up something else.
Yeah, maybe just not a scoreboard billboard. Maybe just be like, Blue Cross Blue Shield supports Nebraska.
How about they start posting Nebraska and Creighton volleyball scores?
That would work.
Because those are winning programs.
That's true. That could work.
Or maybe Creighton basketball.
Creighton basketball scores would be good.
Yeah.
Or maybe we don't need scores.
Yeah.
Especially
maybe just tell us, how good your insurance is.
Official insurance of Nebraska football.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like everybody else does.
Exactly. The next caller is identified as It's Over. Hello, caller. You're on Big Red Overreaction. It's over. So is the phone call. Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. By Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. And by Burton, when your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Next up is John. Hi, John. Thanks for waiting. You're on Big Red Overreaction. By the way, I'm John Bishop. He's Ravi Lulla.
How you doing, Job and Rob? How you do?
Ravi.
Robbie, my bad.
No, Ravi. V.
Robbie.
Ravi. V. R-A-V-I. Ravi, not Robbie.
Okay.
But that's fine. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Hey, my apologies.
Just showing respect for my friend.
You're good. You're all good.
Of course. Hey, great takes, though, about the game, though. I agree with everything you guys have said. My thing is I've had to listen to people questioning me about why they got rid of Mike Riley and Adrian Martinez. And I don't know what to say, bro,
Mm-hmm.
And I just think as far as the billboard go, that the team just got to do better, bro. We just got to do better. I don't think that we can try to make them change their billboard. We just got to, hey, it's the reality, they play for a score.
Yeah.
The score is there.
Yeah.
And, are we going to keep getting those scores like that? Or, are we going to do, make a change or something good? But part of my thing is, though, if the people that said that they wanted Scott Frost, I don't think, bro, that they should have any input on who the next coach should be, though. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, you're saying that anyone who wanted Scott Frost from the beginning?
Yes.
From the beginning? Yes. I mean, John,
exactly. Has it been anything positive?
Well, John, if that's the case, then there might only be like 5 people on planet Earth that can make the next decision because virtually everybody thought this was a great hire, both locally and nationally.
Was wrong, though, right?
Well, yeah, they were wrong, but we're allowed to be wrong, aren't we?
Well, but here's what I'm saying. If we're going to be wrong, then we can't expect people to keep showing up to the game. We can't expect the fan support if this is the best we can get. It'd been something different, bro. If we was playing Georgia, Southern Georgia Southern. Come on, bro. That's all I'm saying is that, first of all, with football, you have to be, you have to be committed to something bigger than yourself. It can't be individual.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be selfish. And when you are selfish in football, it reflects on the team and the score.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate y'all taking
All
my
right.
call.
Hey, John,
You
thank
did a
you.
great job.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Thanks for being out there. 402-951-1620. I didn't really understand the thought process, but hey, we're all still in shock right now.
Yeah, it's a little shell shocking.
Maybe not shock. That's the scary thing. It's really not that shocking.
It's not. There was a part of me that's like they could lose this game, but I didn't actually believe it. And then it started happening.
Yeah. Here's George. Hi, George. Thanks for waiting. You're on Big Red Overreaction.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Man, I'm usually an optimistic person. I try to look at the world in a half glass full type of way. There is absolutely nothing to be optimistic about. This team, I mean, does anyone understand that Georgia Southern ran the triple option up until this last season?
Mm-hmm.
And we made them look like 2008 Texas Tech, Michael Crabtree, Graham Harrell type stuff. That was absolutely abysmal. Our linebackers should be the black shirts should all be taken away. I don't understand. Our defensive line played like garbage. Our safeties, I mean, thank goodness for, what's his name, who got the 2 interceptions. He played pretty well, but he couldn't do any run fits correctly. I mean, our offense played pretty well. I guess that's one positive that we can take. But for a team that we paid $1.4 million to play, I mean, this is just embarrassing. And there should be nobody who's a Nebraska fan who should think that Scott Frost deserves any more time after October 1st. And the only reason that man has a job right now is because his buyout gets cut in half on that day. It's absolutely embarrassing. It's such piss poor to all these fans, all these people that show up to watch. And every single weekend, and they get hyped up and they get excited. They spend their money. They spend their time, their effort, everything. It's just disappointing. It sucks. There's nothing else to say. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. I appreciate you guys taking my call. I'm just frustrated.
George, I understand. I understand the frustration.
I think that's a very common. I think a lot of people are in the same boat.
Oh, more than in the same boat.
I mean, we're all, forgive me, rowing in the same direction on that one.
Yeah.
We're PJ Flecking this thing at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. 402-951-1620. Here is Ryan. Ryan, good afternoon. Or good evening, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm used to being on in the afternoons.
Yeah, we're all a little disoriented. That's fair.
Yeah.
So, well, I'll just say, I'm glad the wheels fell off. I'm glad we're not in some sort of 6-6, 7-5, will Trev, won't he sort of situation here. I'm glad that it's just over, and it clearly needs to be over. We don't have to worry about, half measures anymore. Thank goodness. So I will say that on the positive side. On the other side of things, though, when it comes to temperament of the next coach or psychological profile, ever what you want to call it, we got to get somebody in here who knows how to handle a press conference, knows how to form relationships, can keep their stuff together, and at a bare minimum, because these last few press conferences have been so hard, and then the halftime stuff that he says, it's almost going back to the Bo era of just stupid things and shooting his mouth off and just not doing himself any favors. Just give me someone who can win the press conference week in and week out. That's all I got, fellas. Thanks.
Appreciate the call, Ryan. It's going to make for one heck of a story when it's written. Why it fell apart so badly for a game for a coach that seemed to be such a home run hire.
Universally, this was not. I've said this before. This was not he's a Nebraska guy. That's why we want him. Everybody wanted him. After the 12-0, 13-0 season at UCF, everybody wanted him.
Yeah.
This was not a Nebraska talking themselves into somebody because he had Nebraska ties thing. So you're right. It's going to be interesting when somebody finally writes that profile of why it didn't work. But I hope it starts with one word, because I'm convinced this is why it didn't work: accountability.
Yeah.
To me, I've been preaching this since last year, especially. I don't feel like Scott Frost takes accountability for things. based on his public comments.
He didn't take accountability from the start.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But I thought his coaching acumen might be able to overcome it
Mhm.
at the beginning. But especially last year, honestly, it started during 2020. I gave him a break because of COVID. But especially during last year, when you had all these close losses and he could not take accountability for his part in what was going wrong. If that's what the leadership that your head coach is providing, not taking accountability, not taking responsibility, even if it's 1% your fault, could be 99% somebody else's fault.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me there's not a single thing as a head coach you could do better. You just have to pray for the wind beneath your wings for a good call. Guess what? They got the good calls tonight.
Yeah, they did.
They got the calls in their favor tonight.
0 turnovers.
0 turnovers, +2 in the turnover margin. They got everything they needed tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost to Georgia Southern. This wasn't a Big Ten team. What's this defense going to look like against Big Ten teams?
Ravi, I was looking it up.
What's the offensive line going to look like against Big Ten teams?
Now, I'm not 100% sure. I believe this is accurate because I believe this is the most up-to-date spreadsheet on the records from the Huskers.com official account, 2022 football records. Georgia Southern had 642 yards of total offense. Third most all-time allowed by a Nebraska defense, only trailing 1956 Oklahoma and 2012 UCLA. 642 yards total offense, third all-time opponent total yards against Nebraska. The other teams on this list, I mentioned Oklahoma, I mentioned UCLA, Wisconsin twice, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Washington. Oh, there's Ball State from 2007.
Yeah. So you're saying most of the other teams on the list are not from the Sun Belt.
Bing, ding.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. But I hope when the story gets written, because at this point it will get written.
Yes.
Scott Frost is not surviving this.
No, he's done. It's over.
I don't know when.
It's not over. It's not over officially, but it's
I don't know when.
It's done.
But Scott Frost's
it needs to be done.
Coaching career at Nebraska is over, just not officially yet. The pieces that get written on why this failed have to start with accountability.
Mm-hmm.
That is by far the biggest failure of his administration.
Well, I know this guy's probably going to bring some heat.
Let's do it.
It's my buddy Vince in Napa. How you doing, Vince?
Hey, good evening, fellas. How are you?
Oh, we're here.
Well, so am I. That makes two of us. But you know what I say? Hey, guys, you know what I say? Win or lose, we drink booze.
Make it a Coors Light tonight to support our sponsor. But you're in the Napa Valley, so make it a nice Pinot Grigio or whatever you can squeeze out of the grapes.
Well, I drank a tall Coors Light while I was cooking dinner. But
okay.
I'm on to some cab right now. But anyhow, though, fellas, there's no question about it. I mean, Scott Frost signed his pink slip tonight, and when I say signed his pink slip, I'm talking about. Okay, we're at a point now where, let's say best case scenario, we beat Oklahoma next week. Is that really going to do anything for him, or is that really going to do anything for us as a fan base? I would look at that and say, well, so what? Big deal. But I'll tell you and you guys are right. We got the various things we needed, because it's not like, we lost on some fluky plays like we did at times last year. Here's what else is disturbing, because John, you guys talked about how this is a team that was running the triple option, a year ago at this time, and they switched to an air raid. But you want to know what? We got our asses kicked up front in the run game against a non-running team.
Yeah.
Let that sink in for a moment.
7.8 yards a carry.
Right. I mean, they averaged a first down every rushing play the entire first half. And so in the words of John McKay, it's like, we can't stop the run, we can't stop the pass. Otherwise, we're in great shape. and the other one is this, okay? How do I feel about the execution of Nebraska defense? Well, personally, I'd be in favor of it. And what's disturbing is that, okay, special teams was a talking point throughout the offseason, and rightfully so. But for the most part, I think the special teams has at least done a passable job. And I think, and on offense, I think Casey had a couple of rough stretches the previous game or the previous two games. But for the most part, I think he's been as good as advertised. We've gotten the running back production for the most part, but defensively, we've got too many mules. We got too many damn mules. We got not enough, and we don't have enough racehorses. If you want to know what it is, because to play defense, you can bring in all the guys that are talented and all of this and all of that. But defense takes a mentality. You know what you need on defense? You need boar hunters. These guys go shopping at Hy-Vee for their bacon. I need guys that go out and hunt in the woods and hunt these suckers down with knives. And they're not even doing any of that. Because you need a defense that fights with bloody knuckles. Instead, we're just hitting the damn face every week.
Vince, thank you. Back to your cab.
You've got it, man.
All right. Take care, my friend. Vince from Napa Valley. 402-951.
I'm not a huge fan of the California
1620.
cabs. They're a little sweet for my taste.
Oh, are they?
Not as earthy as your old world cabs you get from Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only cabs I'm familiar with are ones with four
Taxis.
wheels. Yeah, that's about it. Brian is next. Good afternoon. I'm just gonna say good afternoon for the rest of the day. So just forgive me right now.
We're gonna be on until tomorrow afternoon. So
no,
it's
we're
fine.
not. God dang it, Brian. Go ahead.
I'm gonna try to do this without yelling. The last caller's right. We got a bunch of mules. We need some racehorses, and I want to let you guys know I'm using these terms in code. I'm using them for code words.
Mm-hmm.
We need racehorses. We don't have enough racehorses on defense. We don't have enough athletes on defense. If you guys remember anything, I remember the 80s football teams, how they had good offenses, but the defenses sucked because they didn't have enough athletes. Yeah. And then at one point we got smart and started saying we're going to go get those athletes. When I look at our defense in the front seven, I don't see any of those athletes existing. I've been told for years that they exist, but they don't. And John, let me let you know, I am one of those 5 people in Nebraska that at the time did not think that we needed to hire Scott Frost for this reasoning. I felt that if he loved this state, we could get him at any time. Let him go to Florida and build up his cachet. Because I was told that before we fired Mike Riley, we were not going to hire another coach as a project like we did with Bo Pelini. What is the difference between Scott Frost being at UCF, a school in Florida, for 2 years, and just say, I'm forgetting his name. The other coach that we had, Turner Gill. They both had 2 years, successful years.
Mm-hmm.
They both would have been experiments. I would have been more comfortable letting Scott go build his cachet and felt that at any time Nebraska could have threw any number at him and got Scott Frost to come here. That's why I was willing to do that.
Yeah.
So we got Scott Frost. I didn't really think he was ready. Yeah, and when I'm looking at him, I think this is an indictment on the culture of the state, of the people down there that's running this program. Yes, I don't believe you people that have been running the program for the last 20 years that did not cooperate with Bo Pelini, who was a way better coach than this man, who did not cooperate with Mike Riley, who won more games than Scott Frost without even trying to coach. He didn't even try to coach and he won more games than this man. Okay? You guys got what you want. It's not working. I want this state to come out of the past and come into the future. We're not winning with what you guys think is going to win. That Nebraska nice stuff is not going to win nothing. I've been all across the state. And so all you and these athletes that we supposedly have here, they don't match up. I was worried about this game before it came around because I said, I know Georgia Southern got athletes. Our linebackers are getting ran past. Our quarterback, our safety can't tackle. Okay? We are getting out-athleted. They're on matchups and stuff. Every game is the same plan. And you're going to see it for the rest of the year. And, get ready. We probably going to end up with just one win this year.
I want you guys to think about that. 1 year, y'all ready for that? Then please get rid of this man. And don't hire nothing like this again. The people that have been making the decisions so far and standing in hindrance in the progress that's down in that program that had the power, please just shut up. You guys have proven you don't know what in the world you're talking about or doing. You've had 20 years to prove that. I think it's a consensus and a proven record. I'm not wrong. You're showing everybody because your way is not working.
Brian,
I will say what type of coach I want, but that's it. But fellas, you guys have a nice weekend.
All right. Well, Brian, congratulations. You get to be one of the 5, according to caller John, that gets to pick the next coach. It'll be like that. It'll be like that summit at the end in the last episode of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, just pick the next game.
Where they'll pick one, and it'll end up being Bran. Sorry if it's a spoiler alert, folks. If you haven't seen it by now, it's your damn
what's
fault.
What's the college football equivalent of Bran?
Hugh Freeze, because remember Hugh Freeze coached a game from his hospital bed once. 402-951-1620. Here is Ross. Ross, you're on with John and Ravi on Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. Ross, okay, if you're going to be listening in your cars, folks, I really appreciate it, but got to listen through your phone. Yeah, I appreciate those of you who are listening on your way home from the game, but once we put you on hold, listen through your phone, not the car, because there is a delay, and
then we get a weird feedback.
Then we get the weird feedback, and then I hear myself coming back to me, and I sometimes don't like the sound of my own voice, despite what some of my critics say. But I really don't. One more call before we head to break. Here's Wade in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yes, sir. My father, my late father, he's been gone now since 97, so at least he got to see February 97, so at least he got to see the 94 and 95 national championship seasons. But I can assure you he is rolling over in his grave now. I can remember when I was a little kid and TV games were non-existent except for the Oklahoma game, and he would get down on the floor with the silent movie camera and film the Oklahoma game. Now, that's dedication right there. Even though I didn't attend the university and I've lived in Mississippi my entire life, excuse me, I've been sick. It's a little like being born into the mafia. Whether you like it or not, Big Red is in your blood. And, I'm 51 and I was 34 years old before Nebraska didn't make a bowl game. That's how spoiled I was.
Mm-hmm.
And, I love Frost, always have, but it's not working. It's not gonna work. And then I didn't know until just last week or the week before, I didn't realize that his buyout went from the 15 to the 7 on October 1st. I thought it was at the end of the year. So
no, it's October 1st.
So you got that, and you combine that with the fact that the NCAA just changed the rules on when you can and cannot enter the transfer portal. It's not just a free-for-all anymore. And those two things combined definitely, I think, seal his fate. Because now you can fire him on October 1st. You can put an interim coach in there, and they're going to view, I think Trev Alberts is going to view that as the best possibility of hanging on to the athletes we want to hang on to heading into the next season if we can turn it around and get some momentum going. I mean, look, I'm a 3-time cancer survivor.
Congratulations.
All 3 of those cancers, thank you. All 3 of those cancers were easier to survive than the last 4+ seasons of this crap.
Wow.
I'm dead serious. I should be dead, but Nebraska football almost killed me more than those cancers did.
Wade,
that might be the call of the night.
That's the call of the night right there, my friend.
Right.
Wade, we appreciate it. Thanks. That was 1 in a million, man.
Congratulations, by the way, for
that's incredible. 3-time survivor, and this team's killing him more than the cancer did.
I mean, you got to get rid of Frost just to keep Wade around, if nothing else.
Exactly.
Jeez.
402-951-1620. This is Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. By Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, and by Burton, When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. 402-951-1620. If you get a busy signal, stay right there. We're not going anywhere for a while, though I don't plan to shake hands with Michael Severe when he walks in the door this morning.
He said he would relieve us at 4 if we wanted. You just split the difference.
By the way, there's been no announcement made about any other press conferences tonight. I just want to put that out there right now if you're getting any ideas. But if there is, we'll carry it for you live on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Hello, I'm Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. If you've been dissatisfied with your current banking situation, maybe it's time to move to a bank that works to deserve your business. We have an engaged staff that offers exceptional personalized service. We also have a great digital banking platform. We have 2 locations at 108th and Dodge or 202nd and Pacific. So if you're looking for a superior banking relationship, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Right now with Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more, you can get a furnace safety check and cleaning for only $55 and 5 cans of food. In other words, as you turn on the heat and turn in 5 cans of food, you'll help support our community by feeding families in need. All donations go to benefit Food Bank for the Heartland. Book your service today at justcallburton.com.
When the bullets just cover, he will be right.
More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. Sound off 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Feeling you should taste that. I'm so fancy.
Van Treese gets the snap, gives it off to Green up the middle, breaks a tackle, 45, look out, 50. He's to the 40. Buford trying to track him down, 30, 20, 15, 10. Buford knocks him out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. Man, that has popped open a couple of times tonight for Georgia Southern. Long run by Gerald Green, and he races it all the way down to the 3-yard line. That's a high snap. They give it off to Green again. This time he gets pushed back. I don't know. No signal yet. Now it goes. The arms go up. Touchdown.
Gerald Green trying to do his best impression of a Wisconsin running back. Now the total number of yards aren't Melvin Gordon, but 132 yards on 10 carries. If you have any rudimentary sense of math, you know that's a 13.2 yard per carry average. Jalen White had 17 carries for a mere 85 yards, but that's still 5 yards a carry. All told, 233 yards on 30 rushes, 7.8 yards per carry. We had Damon Benning, of course, doing the breakdown on 1620 The Zones on sportsmanlike conduct, and he said, you know, you want to keep it at 4, preferably less than 4. He actually mentioned 3.6.
They did not keep it at 4.
No.
They kept it at under twice 4.
Third most total offensive yards ever given up by a Nebraska football team in any one game.
Here's the other part about those rushing numbers that are scary is Georgia Southern really has no interest in running the ball that much. This is the offense that was being run when Marquis Stepp left USC because they weren't running the ball enough. And he didn't like how they were playing offense. That's this offense.
Right.
They got 7.8 yards a carry and over 230 yards rushing on an offense that really has no interest whatsoever in running the football.
Right.
That's what an air raid is. That's not a criticism. That's a fact.
Right.
They occasionally run it on
They
draws.
run to keep you honest.
Yeah, they run it on draws and things like that to keep you honest. But every time they did it, they had a huge hole, especially in the first half. So they felt obligated to continue doing it. And then on the go-ahead touchdown by Georgia Southern, incredible play call by Helton on the quarterback draw. This is the first quarterback run we had all night from Georgia Southern. Incredibly timed play call by him.
Yeah.
But that's why those rushing numbers are so concerning to me. This isn't Wisconsin going 7.8 on you as their identity of this is what we do. This is a team that doesn't even necessarily care if they run the ball at all.
Right. 402-951-1620. Man, we're sticking in SEC country tonight. Chad in Baton Rouge.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I'm really standing in the shadow of Death Valley. Just went to the game tonight, and actually left at halftime because it was a blowout. Like I thought, considered that Nebraska game today.
Chad, what's a blowout?
Like I think it was like 44-0 at halftime. I thought.
Wow, that's legal. That's allowed.
Ridiculous. I don't know if it's allowed. It was ridiculous. There's supposedly a band playing at halftime. We're like, yeah, let's just walk home. We're a 20-minute walk. We walked home.
Yeah.
I'm a Nebraska native. I don't really know how to break this down. It's just like I feel really bad after moving to SEC country, after living in the Midwest for so long, and it's just like a totally different world. And I feel really so. Tom Osborne really had to go to a different place to achieve the goals that that made Nebraska what it was in the mid-90s. And I honestly don't think that it can be achieved again. I don't know if any. Please, I just want to know some sort of. Because I am a Nebraska fan, I want to know that if that's able, is that able to be achieved again, or I just want to know. I'm sure as me, as long as plenty of other Nebraska fans want to know is like we can't even win the Big Ten, whatever it is, West. Yeah, I mean we can't.
Well, how about just get to a bowl game? They haven't been to a bowl game since 2016.
Yeah, okay. I'm not trying to like poo-poo Nebraska. I just want to know, like, is there? I've been to this. I'm in the South now for the last couple of years, and it's a totally different ball game down here. And they like to. What is it? Well, Bo Pelini was here, gone in a year. And Ed Orgeron won a championship here and then is gone. They're willing to spend so much money and deal with so much of off the field stuff that deals not even with players, but I'm talking about coaches. That like if Ed Orgeron was winning, they wouldn't have cared about. I just please. It's a totally different ball game down here, and I want to know if Nebraska can ever compete again.
Well,
in this arena,
Chad, appreciate the call.
You guys are better. You guys are better than me.
Yeah, Chad, appreciate the call. I think the answer to that question is yes, they can, because they're in one of the two chosen leagues, and they're going to have money,
and they're committed to it. They're committed,
and
to
they
football.
are committed to it. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily born on third base and rounding third and heading for home. They do. I've always believed this about Nebraska, because Nebraska historically is the most overachieving major college sports program. When I say major, I'm talking football and men's basketball of all time. There's never been a state of this small a population that has produced this many national champions in one of the two money sports. Never.
Sure.
And so you've always had to work
a little
harder, a little differently,
a little smarter.
But that doesn't mean it can't be done. Obviously, we've seen it been done. But that what we're talking about right now, that is,
we're not even talking about national championships anymore.
That you're climbing the mountain and they can't even see the peak because it's hidden by the clouds. You're not even worried about that right now. You're just trying to get away from the first camp, and get up the hill and get to a winning record and get to a point where you can see yourself on a similar level with Northwestern, with Iowa, with Wisconsin, with Minnesota. That's where you're trying to get right now.
Right now, Nebraska's trying to stop drowning. They're not even on the mountain yet.
Yeah.
They are in the ocean below sea level, drowning. Right now, Nebraska's trying to get their head back above water.
Yeah.
And then you can start the process of trying to climb the mountain again. But we're not talking about, summiting Everest or anything like that. We're talking about like trying to climb one of the Council Bluffs at this point. And trying
one of the Luss Hills.
Yes.
Near Luss Hills, Harley Davidson.
Trying to climb a large hill.
Yeah.
We're not talking about climbing mountains at this point. And to me, that is not hard. That part of it for a school that puts the resources and commitment into it that Nebraska does is not hard. Getting your head above water so you stop drowning shouldn't be hard. Getting to base camp at 4,000 feet or whatever should not be hard. Now, going from, like we've seen with Iowa, going from 8 wins to 10 wins to knocking on the college football playoff door, that part is difficult.
Yes.
Getting to that part with the resources Nebraska puts into this thing should be the expectation. Bowl games every year is the expectation. Competing for the West most years is the expectation. And occasionally having teams that rise above that, like an Iowa does, like a Wisconsin does, like Michigan State did with their playoff run. Occasionally having a team that reaches for the mountaintop is the goal. Nobody's trying to recreate the 90s anymore. That hasn't been the case for a very long time.
Yeah,
and people bring up, Nebraska's living in the past. No, we're not. We're living in the very, very present.
Very scary present.
In which we need to get rid of a football coach that is 16-31. That's where we're living. We need to get rid of a football coach that hasn't been able to make a bowl game in 4 years and does not appear to be headed there now.
Just saw a tweet from Lance Leipold. Simple words, rock chalk. Kansas wins in overtime, 55-42. You're saying, how can they have a 2-possession win in overtime? They had a pick six. They were ahead and then got a pick 6. So Kansas goes on the road, beats West Virginia 55-42. I only say that because Lance Leipold's name might be thrown out there. I don't know if he's necessarily the guy. I'm just saying people are going to talk about him.
I was watching Lance Leipold and Chris Kleinman closely today.
Yeah.
I don't think those are the top of the list. I do think they're on the list.
I think I'm with you. I'm a Kyle Whittingham guy.
Love Kyle Whittingham. I think Matt Campbell's still the guy. If you're in terms of the best guy that I think you can get, I think is Matt Campbell. There's Whittingham. I don't know that he's ever leaving the state of Utah. I would love Whittingham. I think you have to make the calls to your Fickles and Kiffins and those people. But the guy that I think you can get that is really good, I think it starts with Campbell.
Here is Old Man Doug. Speaking of Old Man Doug, tonight's program brought to you by Burton. When you're plumb uncertain, just call Burton. Brought to you by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. And brought to you by who, Doug?
Equitable Bank, where we take losing games we should win personally.
Well, that's not your technical slogan, but because you're the one that said it, I'll make it count. How you doing, Doug?
There you go. I'll tell you, I'm absolutely done. And here's what bothers me is the only constant over since basically Bob Devaney got here has been the fans.
Yeah.
And I'm not going. I have tickets to the Oklahoma game. I'm not going. And I couldn't even, my wife's got COVID, and I couldn't even give my seats away today. I mean, I texted everyone, the apathy, and I'm hoping that it's obviously it's not me, and I would take everything I had times 10 to buy this out. But Jack Mitchell made a good point. I hope somebody with more money than sense just puts this thing out of its misery and says, here, Trev, how much is it? Is it 17 million more to do it now versus October 1?
So it's 7.5 million more. So it'd be 15 million today. It's 7.5 on October 1. So it'd be an extra 7.5
the reason
today.
I say that is because this team is lost. They're not responding to them. The effort isn't there. And the showboating, and John, you tweeted out that a couple of times, they'd have an incomplete pass, and even Brody Belt took a bow. I mean, do that after you win the game. I'm sorry, but a lot of it's on this coaching staff because they allow this stuff. How about the one guy comes in for one play and he makes contact with the wide receiver, and I just inexplicably now they did.
I've never seen that before.
And where I'm going with this is they must be allowing this in practice. They must be allowing this in practice. This is a soft team. I've never heard this stud up. Oh, let's stud up. And let's think about this for a minute. How many of our players get injured anyway in practice when they're not even hitting? We know they're not hitting. I mean, we've heard the comment, it must be a bloodbath in Iowa. I mean, at least Iowa hits. Now, their offense is garbage, but, I mean, we are the softest team in the Big Ten, and it's not even close. The next team isn't even close to as soft as we are, and that's what breaks my heart. And you guys have said it right. I'm not expecting a return of the '90s. I'm just expecting 7, 8, 9 wins every once in a while, getting 10, getting to the conference championship. It is tough to recruit here, but really some of our better players are from here. But you see them roll out the same players the whole time. Now, the offense did play pretty good, but really not because of the line, because of the skill players. I mean, our tackles, we can't try somebody else. And the whiffs.
Well, it's the angles. Some of the angles are just terrible.
And then
the run fits are brutal sometimes.
And then the safety, one misses a tackle, is number 5, Gates. He came in, then he missed, then Farmer came back in and missed again. And it's just maddening. But so that's on the coaches for not recruiting better players or players that can be developed, and coming from winning programs and players that have fought through some things, which just doesn't. We do have some. I mean, Garrett Nelson lays it out there every game. And really, I think Gifford played really well, and give their quarterback some credit. He did make some great throws, but I mean, it's every game. It's just every game. And I'm going, when are we going to get that soul crushing turnover? And I thought we got it when
they got 2, Doug, and gave up none.
No, I thought we were going to get it when what's the Smothers?
When Smothers fumbled.
Oh, yeah, but that's the thing. That's the whole point. They gave up 45, 642 yards.
Yeah.
They didn't turn the ball over once and got 2 turnovers.
And I sent you guys an email, but, it's kind of like a union strike. If the fans don't, if they keep coming, no matter what the product is, that's what I think has happened to our program is like, well, Ronnie Green sitting there saying, you know what, these people are stupid enough to show up for a substandard product, and we keep charging them more. We keep increasing the seat fees and all this stuff. And the fans need to say, that's it.
Yeah.
And then maybe the players will go, well, you know what, maybe I'm not playing as hard as I could, and maybe I'm not giving these people their money's worth, because they're not. And everybody that buys a hat, buys a ticket, all this stuff deserves better.
Yeah.
They do.
Doug, I appreciate it. I've said the same thing. That was the same mentality that hurt the Cubs for a long time. Wrigley Field was being sold out in the summer. They were drawing 1.5 million, 2 million fans, and the Wrigley's were putting out a piss poor product. And it's one thing to say, hey, I'm here to support my team, win or lose, but man, at some point you gotta make a statement. At some point you gotta make a statement, said this isn't good enough. This isn't about supporting. You're showing support by showing management, I'm using management in air quotes, that, hey, you got a garbage head coach, you got a garbage program, and you need to fix this, and I'm not coming back until it does. At some point, you got to make a stand. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. Checking out. I think Trev understands this.
It's like
and that's why this is done. I don't know if it's going to be done before October 1st.
But it's done.
But it is done.
Yeah.
It needs to be done. Scott Frost is a horrible head coach at Nebraska.
There's no arguing.
There's no
that.
arguing this
you
anymore.
Can't argue that.
This is the Bill Jennings of the 21st century. It has to be done.
At least Bill Jennings didn't have the resources and the history really at this point.
No, he didn't, because he was
pre-Devaney.
He was at the tail end of a bad line of head coaches. By the way, the 400 and what was it? 9 yards of passing tonight by Kyle Van Trees. I just tweeted this out. This is from an account. This is from Patrick Stevens, who runs an account, a D1 sports account. Said, didn't expect to find myself perusing the box score to the 1985 Division I AA national title game tonight, but here we are. That's the last time Georgia Southern had a quarterback throw for 400 yards.
Jeez.
And the record is now 214-1. Nebraska before tonight was 214-0 in Memorial Stadium when scoring 35 points. Here's Cody. Hi, Cody. Thanks for waiting. You're on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, thanks, John. Hey, thanks, Robbie. I listen to you guys' podcast a lot, so I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, so Scott Frost is clearly gone. We've gone too long with that. He's proven over and over he can't do it. So I'm just trying to set the expectations, set the level here. Urban Meyer, he got a raw deal, and I think that he wins everywhere he goes in college, not in the NFL, obviously. But we just need to start setting the expectations that if we got Urban Meyer, that it would be great for Nebraska. He's a proven winner. He's going to get us 9-10 wins a year, and I just want your thoughts on that, on Urban Meyer at this point.
I don't think there's any
Disagree.
way. I don't think there's any way in hell Trevor Alberts hires Urban Meyer.
I agree.
I
don't think he should.
I don't think he should either. I think the personality, the way he carries himself, all of it, I don't think Trev has any interest in any of that. And I agree.
It's one thing. I get it. I know everyone. And listen, I once upon a time said, if I were building a program, I would hire Urban Meyer over Nick Saban, from the logic of the man has won everywhere he's gone, and he has been in different places. He's been at Utah. He's been at Ohio State. He's been at Florida.
Bowling Green.
But it never ends well with him. And it would be the possibility of short-term success, but it never ends well, and you would be left with as big a dumpster fire as you have right now. And I don't think Nebraska wants that. And I don't think they want the headache of dealing
with Urban Meyer.
It's just Urban Meyer.
The whole thing around him is just toxic.
Yes.
What you don't want that if you're Nebraska. If you're Nebraska, you want a steady program builder, somebody long-term.
And aren't you tired of the drama?
Exactly. That's what I mean. You want somebody that brings no drama to the table.
Right.
That just goes about their job. That's why Whittingham's at the top of my list.
Yeah.
He does an incredible job. Also, he builds his teams from the inside out. Offensive lines, defensive lines. That's what Nebraska needs, because that's how Nebraska has been historically successful. That's how the Big Ten West has been historically successful. Hell, that's how Alabama has been historically successful. Before they got all the athletes and the 5 stars and whatever, it was offensive line, defensive line. I want a guy that starts there. That's part of the other reason Campbell appeals to me. His background is as an O-line coach. Before he became an offensive coordinator, before he became a head coach, he was an O-line coach. Those are the type of guys that I want. Steady guys that bring no drama and build with the lines first. Nebraska's had some skill position players I've liked over the years, but the line play has never been consistently good enough to take the program where it needs to go.
And I think we are way underselling. Yes, I get it. He's had success in college ball, but that 1 year in Jacksonville was such a disaster.
And so embarrassing.
Very embarrassing.
For everyone involved.
And quite frankly, his reputation took a huge hit. You do not want the drama. Plus, Nebraskans want something that's steady and stable. I've said for a long time, you want to get back to the 1980s sweet spot where you're winning 9 and 10 games a season. You're in contention for your conference. In this case, your division, which puts you in contention for your conference. That's where you want to get. You want to get to that baseline and then see if you can, build the mansion from that baseline. But you do not want to bring in somebody who, yes, may give you a season or two of greatness and you'll feel good about things, but it will
crash and
it will
burn.
end poorly and you will be left with a dumpster fire. And then you're right back to square one.
And let's be honest, Nebraska hasn't shown the ability to consistently hire good head football coaches.
Yep.
You don't want to be in a position where you have to hire another one in 4 years because Urban Meyer has another health crisis or he gets embarrassed again or whatever. Urban Meyer's not it.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be great I know they closed Shakers in Waverly. Be great for the night before there in Lincoln, but that's about as good as it gets.
I can't imagine a world in which Trev Alberts even entertains that name.
No.
We'd get some really entertaining Steven Sipple stories, though. I'm sure he'd have a lot to say and he'd have some good practice.
Well, you got to be careful here, Herb.
Brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. And by Burton, when your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Chris, Josh, Matt, Martin, stay right there. We'll get to your calls. And we will continue with more of Big Red Overreaction here on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1019 The Keg.
Big Red Overreaction now on 2 big stations. KOOO, La Vista, Omaha, Council Bluffs. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. Sound off on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Hello, I'm Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. If you've been dissatisfied with your current banking situation, maybe it's time to move to a bank that works to deserve your business. We have an engaged staff that offers exceptional personalized service. We also have a great digital banking platform. We have 2 locations at 108th and Dodge or 202nd and Pacific. So if you're looking for a superior banking relationship, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Sunday morning is all about church, eggs, and the Sunday paper. But right next to church, it's made for hot takes and reactions. Severe Reactions. Michael Severe is back on 1620 The Zone with Severe Reaction. Sundays 8 to 10 and doesn't hold back on what went right and what went wrong on Saturday. He'll also take calls from the most important voice of all, yours. Severe Reaction. Sundays from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Powered by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Only on 1620 The Zone.
Right now with Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and More, you can get a furnace safety check and cleaning for only $55 and 5 cans of food. In other words, as you turn on the heat and turn in 5 cans of food, you'll help support our community by feeding families in need. All donations go to benefit Food Bank for the Heartland. Book your service today at justcallburton.com.
When the buzzards hurts over, Buttercup is over, he will visit right.
More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The K. Sound off. 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC, Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Empty again for the Huskers. Snap back. Casey looking, stepping, throws to the end zone. Man out there. Brody Belt. Touchdown. Nebraska. Brody Belt's first career touchdown.
Yes. Brody right down the middle of the field. Casey Thompson threw a dime.
Well, Thompson was good tonight. 23 of 34, 318 yards and a touchdown. Problem was his defense could not help. A third worst all-time, 642 yards of total offense given up by the Nebraska defense. 409 passing, 233 on the ground. They averaged 7.5 yards a play. Did Georgia Southern. They averaged 7.8 yards per rush. Did Georgia Southern. And I don't have my turnover numbers in front of me, but Nebraska, when they win the turnover margin, since 2007. When winning the turnover margin, got to click on the right folder here, dummy. When winning the turnover margin, Nebraska, since 2008, I'm sorry, first year of Bo Pelini, 48-6.
When winning the turnover margin.
Now 48-7. And I'm looking through my records.
Do you have the +2 number on there?
I'm looking through my records. We're on the same wavelength, my friend. They were +2 at Ohio State in 2018, the near upset.
Okay.
They were +2 in that game, lost. They were +2 last year at Minnesota. They were +2 tonight against Georgia Southern, but had 0
of their own.
That's
a big deal.
Lost.
Yeah.
402-951-1620. Back to the Les Hills Harley-Davidson hotline. John Bishop Ravi Lulla tonight on Big Red Overreaction with Matt. Good afternoon, Matt, or evening or night or whatever the hell it is.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Tell you what, the offense tonight, I sat there and watched their in West Stadium, and I thought the offense played pretty damn good. But this defense, I tell you what, I don't know who the hell's coaching these kids, but I could have drove several trucks down that center of that line. And of course, their running back, before the half was over, had 120 plus yards on 5 carries. We ain't going to win a damn thing with letting a team that doesn't even run the ball decent most of the time. They're more of a throwing team than anything. Let them gain that many yards. Secondly, who is teaching these cornerbacks? I thought there were several plays on these cornerbacks where if they'd have just turned their head, they could have had a pick or a breakup or what have you. It's just horrible. I have not seen a defense this horrible in this program in a long time. And it's just pathetic. I don't know. I heard somebody else say earlier tonight, we're lucky we're only going to get one win. I totally believe that. I just don't see it. How in the hell do you give up 600 yards and think you're going to ever win anything? And as far as Frost leaving, he should have never been hired in the first place. That was a horrible hire. We'd have been better to just put a freaking bowl of mashed potatoes in his head to coach.
Now, Matt, I know there's a lot of people out there. Thanks for the call. There's going to be a lot of revisionist historians that said, I never wanted this in the first place. Man, you people were so damn quiet. And maybe it was because you knew you were swimming upstream, but come on. Everybody wanted this guy. Just damn near everybody wanted this guy. They thought it was a can't-miss hire. I thought it was a can't-miss hire. That's why the story is so intriguing and bizarre and frustrating all at the same time.
That's why it's so frustrating, because everybody thought this was going to work. I don't care what you said now or what anybody says now. The consensus was that this was going to work and that this was the right hire.
Yeah.
I was more hesitant than most, and I thought it was a home run. I looked at the resume. I said, it's a little light. He didn't call plays the whole time at Oregon. He's only got 2 years of head coaching experience at the group of 5 level. UCF was not the turnaround that most people thought it to be in terms of, yes, they did go 0-12, but that was a really talented team both before and after he got there. Okay? So I acknowledged all those things, and I still thought it was the right hire because it was the right hire. Just because it didn't work out doesn't mean it wasn't the right hire at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the other guys that were available, maybe they could have gotten a Lane Kiffin out of FAU, but that would have been taking a huge risk because he hadn't reestablished his credibility yet. You could have taken Bill Moose could have brought Mike Leach with him from Washington State. That probably would have been the most established candidate in terms of a winning record and building programs that you could have gotten. But people would have lost their minds around here if they had chosen Mike Leach over Scott Frost. It was the only hire Bill Moose could make.
Yeah, and you can say, hey, maybe that was a mistake in that you didn't open your mind up to other things. But again, it seemed like it was a sure thing. He had the right pedigree, and not just because he was a Nebraska guy, but because
of who he coached
under, who he coached with,
yes,
the success that he had. And we thought his understanding of what it took to win here, because he went through it and he saw it firsthand. He saw the work that had to be put in and the kind of work that had to be put in by Tom Osborne and that staff, that he would understand that, while at the same time understanding the modern game and how it needed to change and how it couldn't just be I formation, fullback trap, blah, blah, blah. That, it seemed like it was the perfect package.
Here's a scenario that I don't think I've heard anyone consider about, because you mentioned that his time at Nebraska, I think, was obviously one of the most appealing factors about him. Yes, he had the pedigree as a coach, even if it was a little lighter than some of the resumes you see of guys getting hired at big-time Power 5 jobs. But you mentioned we assumed he understood what it took to get things done here. Is it possible that everyone around him, or most of the people around him, understood what it took to get things done here, and he was kind of just along for the ride? Not to say he wasn't good, not to say that he wasn't contributing and a key player on those teams, but he did transfer in. He wasn't here his whole time.
Right.
But
at the same time, his dad played here. His mom coached track and field here. I mean, he knew.
Well, listen, he knew.
Or he should have.
He should have. But think about, listen, and I'm not trying to bring old things up. Think about some of the things that we heard about him during his time at Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible he never really understood and we just assumed he did?
Yeah.
Because that's what it looks like now.
Yeah.
What it looks like now is that he never really got what it took to win here. And that brings me back to the accountability thing. Because that was a key component of the 90s Huskers, right? That's one of the...
It's a key component of any successful organization.
Sports, business, whatever, right? But especially those 90s Huskers, to the point where, listen to Damon talk, listen to any of the ex-Huskers talk from that time period. The coaches didn't even have to keep them accountable. They kept each other accountable, which is the highest form on a team, in my opinion, of accountability, is where the coaches don't even have to do it anymore because it's so ingrained within the system. I'm going to use the word culture here. So ingrained within the culture of a program that that's how things are done. You keep each other accountable to do things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
It's still possible to be a part of that or be in that and not understand that that's why it's working. And maybe that's what we saw here with Scott Frost, because that's the only thing I can think of at this point. Or maybe it's an arrogance thing and he thought he could outsmart the system that he came up in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he thought his offensive system was so good that it would work no matter what. I don't know.
402-951-1620. Thanks for waiting, Martin. We appreciate you being on Big Red Overreaction.
Oh, hey guys, how's it going? I think it's ironic that you just used the term arrogance, because I think it's absolute arrogance. And bear with me for a minute. My question is we've had so many things to consider firing Scott Frost for. But when watching tonight's game, I'm questioning whether or not he watches the game, because that second to last drive, when his running back, save for one carry from Gabe Irvin, is averaging 6 yards a game, and there's 4.5, 5 minutes on the clock. Why are they even throwing the ball and giving Georgia Southern time? I mean, I texted my buddy at like 9:54. Does Frost want to give them time to score a touchdown? I mean, why throw the ball? Just get down yourself in scoring position. Scott Frost has lost this. He doesn't even watch the game. He's an arrogant, egocentric coach, and he absolutely has to go. Thank you.
Martin, appreciate it. By the way, there is still nothing out there yet, if you're wondering, but there are former Huskers who are weighing in. Fabian Washington tweeted, "If I was Scott Frost, I would resign and bow out humbly. This is bad, bad."
There were follow-up tweets from Fabian Washington as well.
Oh, were there?
One about an hour after that one.
Uh-oh.
Get Scott Frost the blank out of my building. Embarrassing.
402-951-1620. If Scott Frost has a friend left whose name is not Matt Davison, I don't know who it is at this point. and I should make clear, it's not like I'm sitting back here and, laughing, guffaw. Listen, it doesn't. These things don't affect me as I know it affects most, if not all of you. I have a different mindset when it comes to Nebraska football. I'm not John of 25 years ago, where I, was,
living and dying,
right? I mean, my age and callousness has usurped me. But at the same time, I'm not happy that this didn't work out.
No, none of us
and
are.
I'm not happy to see Scott Frost walk away with his tail between his legs.
I'm not even happy to be right.
Right.
Like, Josh and I think we're some of the most early adopters on this is not working. Is that fair? At least publicly. I'm not happy to be right. Nebraska's a more fun place to live when the football team is good.
Yes.
Full stop. Not even doing radio, not even, doing overreactions with you or whatever. It is a more fun place to exist when the football team is good. I think like a lot of kids that grow up here, like I'm sure both gone through the like crying after losses part of our life when we were kids.
Yes.
And like probably a little older
Bawled
than
my eyes out when Nebraska lost to Florida State at the end of the game in 1980.
Probably.
You weren't even around yet.
I wasn't around yet. I was -7.
They fumbled the ball on the 3-yard line.
But,
very sad.
Probably shed some tears for Nebraska football even later into our lives than we care to admit, because we do care. And like I said, I don't even like being right here. I don't even like the fact that I had to come to a place where this guy that I thought was a home run hire, even though I had a little bit of hesitancy, still thought was a great hire. I don't like the fact that we're sitting here 4.5 years later being like, well, who's next?
Yeah.
And I love a coaching search. Coaching searches are so much fun,
Right.
like just in general.
But we're not used to wanting to start one of these things after
in
game
September.
3.
This isn't, and I'm not even talking about a Nebraska coaching search. I love any coaching search, any high profile job. They're just fun for me. So I like coming up with names and whatever. It's a weird thing that I like to do. But it's the middle of September, not even. We're not even
20 days left in this month.
We still have 3 weeks until the buyout drops. And everyone thought like, oh, that's early. When the news came out,
now it feels like it's
an eternity.
Yeah, it feels like, waiting for next summer to arrive.
No one's happy about this working out this way. No one. But this is what it is. And I'm not going to, I think everybody's over it at this point, but I refuse to be labeled as negative for just observing the obvious.
Yeah, this isn't being negative, ladies and gentlemen. This is obvious. It's obvious to the world. The only people it's not obvious to are the people who are so blinded and have been making excuses. I mean, honestly,
and that's what I'm not about. I'm not about the excuses.
No, the first red flare went up for me the day he was hired. Now, I didn't think, oh, this isn't going to work the first day. But when one of the first things he said to the media after the scrum was, well, you got to stay away from my family. I'm like, wait a minute, where's your head right now? And then just the constant refrain of, well, those guys didn't lift weights, or, those coaches were bad. They ran this program into the ground.
I think we heard Riley excuses into year 3. And then it was COVID excuses.
There was no point to
excuses.
it. Yes, we knew the Riley era sucked, but yours sucks more.
Take responsibility. That's why I keep coming back to accountability, because this man from day one has not taken responsibility for a damn thing.
Right. You bring up the failures of the people that precede you when you don't have a plan.
Honestly, what a real leader would have done was say, obviously it didn't work out the way Mike Riley wanted it to. We appreciate the time he put in at Nebraska. We appreciate he's left us some really good players.
Or don't even say anything.
Or don't even acknowledge it. But if you have to say something about him, you take the classy way out.
Yep.
That's the Nebraska way.
Well, that's just common sense. It's just common sense. But
if you can't take responsibility for your own actions, and you can't take accountability for your own action, because here's the thing. If you're the head football coach of any program in the country, everything that happens under your watch is at least 1% either you're to blame or you get credit for.
Mm-hmm.
At least 1%, and usually a lot more.
Yeah.
Right? But your job as a leader is to own your portion of what happened, and usually other people's portions as well, and you take that on and you fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But you can't fix anything until you acknowledge that something has gone wrong, and that you played a role in that going wrong.
And the point that he wouldn't even bring himself to acknowledge, he was still saying, hey, our culture here is great. And this is the best leadership we've had. And this is the most together team that we've ever had.
He's honestly
so blinded.
He's
He's so blinded by the thing that's actually hurting him. What was hurting him wasn't the fact that he was calling plays. What wasn't hurting him wasn't that he didn't have an offensive coordinator. He wasn't more of a CEO. He needed to get down into the mind. The reason why you lose so many one-score games is because at the end of the day, you're too weak to be able to handle it. Not physically weak necessarily, but mentally weak.
That's why
and that's culture.
That's culture. And that's why everything has looked the same yet different. Every loss, while they've come in different ways, has been a direct result of self-inflicted errors for the most part.
Yeah.
You take out the Ohio States, who are just clearly better. But I'm talking about games that you should win. Your Northwesterns, your Illinois, at least half of the Minnesota games. These games that you should win, the Rutgers, like those losses are almost all self-inflicted. And that is a direct result of you can't look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I need to do this better. This is where I need to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can't do that as a head coach and as a leader, your players won't do that.
No.
That's where this
Your
all
players
starts.
take on the personality of your coach.
I mean, I think Doug hit on it with the weird defensive back offside.
Yeah.
These are things you allow to happen because you don't hold people to a standard that must be held. And it's because you don't hold yourself to that standard.
Right.
It has always felt like Scott Frost felt like something was happening to him instead of he was making things happen. That's the difference between a leader and a follower. You can throw all this alpha, whatever BS out there and seem macho and seem like a tough guy. It's fake tough guy crap.
Yeah.
It obviously hasn't worked. And I'm convinced that that's the reason why.
Here is Chris. Hi, Chris. You're on Big Red Overreaction.
Hey, John, Robbie, how you guys doing?
Work fine.
I do not envy you guys tonight. Hey, I just want to say, though, that one thing that I haven't heard from anybody else tonight is that we do have an entire season ahead of us. Are we burying this guy too early? It's only 3 games in.
It's not 3 games in. We're 47 games in.
47
games in, man.
16 and 31, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 16 and 31.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm just kidding. Hey,
Wow, Chris, you were about to play all the hits there.
I was about to get hot, Chris.
I know. I was just messing with you. Hey, I do have a serious question though.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anybody's mentioning Bill O'Brien.
I like Bill O'Brien.
I've heard some rumors about him, and I think he'd be a great hire. So, have you guys heard anything about Bill O'Brien?
Well, he's at Alabama right now. I know they talked a little bit about it during the broadcast today that, he's going to end up coaching somewhere. And I agree. I think he's going to be back in the college or maybe even the NFL at some point. I would love to see him on a relatively short list for this job.
There were rumors last year when it seemed like Frost was going to get fired that he was pretty high on Trev's list. I don't know the validity of those rumors, but it was kind of in the ether. Bill O'Brien checks a lot of my boxes. He's got head coaching experience, both in the Big Ten and obviously at the NFL level.
Right.
He's got high Power 5 offensive coordinator experience. Obviously, he's got high-level offensive coordinator experience in the NFL as well. He checks a lot of my boxes in terms of what I would be looking for in a next guy. I think Bill O'Brien is a very viable candidate.
And he took as toxic a situation as has ever existed in college sports, and he made a program a winner at Penn State in the wake of the Sandusky Paterno crap.
They went to 2 straight bowl games under him in a situation where it seemed like they might not win a game for a couple years.
Right. No, Bill O'Brien, I think, would be a great hire. 402-951-1620. Tonight's show brought to you by Burton Plumbing, Heating, and AC and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. By Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chilling. By Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. John and Ravi back in just a moment on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Hello, I'm Doug Nodgaard with Equitable Bank. If you've been dissatisfied with your current banking situation, maybe it's time to move to a bank that works to deserve your business. We have an engaged staff that offers exceptional personalized service. We also have a great digital banking platform. We have 2 locations at 108th and Dodge or 202nd and Pacific. So if you're looking for a superior banking relationship, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Right now with Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more, you can get a furnace safety check and cleaning for only $55 and 5 cans of food. In other words, as you turn on the heat and turn in 5 cans of food, you'll help support our community by feeding families in need. All donations go to benefit Food Bank for the Heartland. Book your service today at justcallburton.com.
When the buzzards discover, he will fix it right.
Big Red Overreaction is on the air, featuring the most important voice of all, yours. Brought to you by Burton AC, Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Feeling you should taste it.
44 seconds left. 2 wideouts each way. Van Treese now goes empty as the back sprints out. It's a quarterback draw. Van Treese to the 5, to the 1, dives, leans. Touchdown. And Georgia Southern has the lead with 36 seconds left.
That was the game-winning touchdown. First time that they had run quarterback draw. And that was the thing.
Credit where credit's due. That was
the
a
run
hell
plays,
of a play call.
The run plays that broke were called at a great time.
The run plays, the screens that they ran when Nebraska was pinning their ears back for a while there in the second half.
Yes.
Trying to get pressure. And they did a really good job of sprinkling in just enough of they did a better job with the draws in the first half. Nebraska seemed to be kind of fitting those a little bit better in the second half, but in exchange, they were giving up the screen passes, which Clay Helton did a really good job calling this game. Now, it was against what has turned out to be a horrific defense.
And that's the thing that's scary, isn't it, Robbie? Even if you make a coaching change at whatever point you make the coaching change, it's not going to change the fact that you have a defense right now that is a sieve.
Here's the thing, though. Do you think for a second that Georgia Southern's offense has more talent than Nebraska's defense?
No.
That's my point, right? Because North Dakota not more talented than Nebraska.
No.
Right? But they were in the game with them for 3 quarters because Nebraska's poorly coached.
Yeah.
Georgia Southern, you want to go guy for guy. And listen, I think it was Brian was talking about athletes. Listen, I get that Nebraska doesn't have the athletes to run with Ohio State or Michigan right now. They have the athletes to run with Georgia Southern.
They should.
But if you're running in the wrong direction, it doesn't matter how fast you go.
But my point is, and I'm not trying to make the argument that, well, you might as well just keep Frost to the end but even if you get rid of Frost, I mean, others are going to stay behind and have to run the team for the rest of the season. And I'm just afraid that there are some fundamental things that are so wrong with his defense. Now, maybe some of it will be cleared up, just because maybe some of the dysfunction will go away, because trust me, there's dysfunction going on behind the scenes when it comes to, player personnel decisions and who plays and who doesn't play, and, guys leaving the team one day and they're coming back the next day. And a lot of that stuff that can cause other guys on the team to go WTF.
Yeah, what the hell's going on here?
That some of that will go away, but I don't know if that alone is going to make the defense necessarily better.
This year is done. That's the thing. Is this year is over. All that we have left.
I mean, did you see the Big Ten West?
Sure.
Except Minnesota. They're pretty bad. I'm just trying to make a case.
But the point is, you don't fire Frost for this year.
No.
Like,
you're
doesn't matter.
doing it for the whole
It
term,
doesn't matter what happens the rest of the year after Frost gets fired. It's just so that you can be first in line to get the guys you want.
Yeah. 402-951-1620. Here is Larry. Hi, Larry.
Hi, how's it going?
Fine, Larry. What's your take?
So I've been listening, and all I hear is a lot of negativity around Coach Frost and all the blame going on Coach Frost. And to me, I feel like that's misplaced. I feel like we got to give this guy a chance. This is one game. We're overreacting to one game.
Well, Larry, we just had the other caller. If you're trying to troll us, that joke's already been played.
Well, it's the 3rd game of the season.
And the 47th game of the tenure, yes. It's the 47th game of the tenure, 16 wins.
Right, but this is one game.
The 47th game of the tenure, 16 wins.
And there's a big game next week, and I feel like we should be, supporting our guy, getting behind him for next week for a big game against Oklahoma.
I'll get behind him while we kick his ass out the door. How's that sound?
I don't know about that. I feel like, what good's it going to do to fire a guy 3rd game into the season?
47th game of the tenure, 16 wins.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like, he's got to have some time to get his guys.
47th game of the tenure, 16 wins. Larry, I'm going to keep saying, if you're going to keep bringing up those arguments, I'm going to keep reminding you, 16 wins in 47 games, worst win percentage since Bill Jennings. And Larry, if you're not familiar with Bill Jennings, he was the guy that preceded Devaney. He had a win percentage under 33%. This is the worst since Bill Jennings.
Well, I mean, this is a slam dunk hire for us, and
who's a slam dunk hire for us?
Hey, we need to actually, get our support behind him. Let him get a chance to get his guys in there.
16 wins in 47 games.
Well,
I'm gonna keep saying it, Larry.
Matches at the beginning too, but
we're in year 5, man.
He's
got his guys in there.
We're in year 5.
He's got his guys in there. This isn't year 2.
There's no Mike Riley guys left to blame.
Well,
Larry, I can keep going all day, my man.
There was a lot of with the COVID situation. There's a lot.
The COVID situation. Oh my God! Remember when Nick Saban's program fell apart during COVID? Remember when Dabo Sweeney's program fell apart during COVID? Remember when Pat Fitzgerald's program fell apart during COVID? Larry, I can go all night.
What about Kirby Smart? Remember when lowly Iowa State couldn't get through? Oh, wait.
Yes, Creep in Omaha. I know he's messing with me.
Negative boys. The negative boys.
Here is Nick. Hi, Nick. Thanks for waiting.
Hey, fellas. Thanks for having me. Long time listener, first time caller. I'm here with my old man, Daryl. And I'm with you. I've had a couple, but I don't think I can outdrink Larry in his flask.
He's just a troll. But it was fun to remind people that there's been 16 wins in 47 games.
Yeah, people forget.
Yeah. I wanted so badly to believe that Frost was the answer to our problems. So badly. And I know I'm not alone there, but even last year I was over it. You can only blame COVID for so much. Our defense.
Well, no one's even thinking that anymore, Nick.
You're the one constant here, with regardless of what excuse people want to throw out, is that Frost has been in charge. That's the one
Yes.
First, the offense wasn't quite good enough. Frost was in charge. First, the special teams were messed up. Frost was in charge. COVID, Frost was in charge. Now the defense is terrible. Frost in charge. That's 4 different major areas in 5 years, and the one constant is that Frost is in charge.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you guys. Frost needs to go sooner rather than later. Screw waiting till October. $7.5 million is a drop in the bucket for this program. Just get it done.
Yeah.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
It'll be done, Nick. It'll be done. I don't know when, but it will be done.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. This is going to be a real painful 3 weeks if we have to wait for.
Yeah. Technically, it's only one more game until October.
You think they fire him the morning of the Indiana game?
Well, they announced a contract extension the morning of the Wisconsin game in year 2, and he had a losing record.
It'd be a little funny if he got canned like at 12:01 on October 1st. It'd be a little funny.
David is up next on Big Red Overreaction. Good evening, David.
Oh, hey, guys. What's up? I apologize. I just choked on a little Coors Light there. Pouring one out. For
Thank you for supporting our fine sponsor, Coors Light.
Of course, every day. I just really wanted to chronicle my fandom of as being a 90s kid. I'm 36 years old now. I was just hoping this Husker fandom journey kind of resonates with at least my generation, maybe more. And I don't know. I'm not looking to solve any problems here tonight or propose any solutions for our team whatsoever. I just, the journey I'm on is from my 90s, obviously, of course, titles. There was I remember an early season loss against Arizona State that hurt. I remember the 7-7 Solid season. Ouch. Okay, we can do better. Maybe we can do better. Who knows? Callahan. See at Texas Tech. I remember one game they hung 70 or something, and I thought that was just, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah.
Then there was the 2000, I think it was 5, 2006, Oklahoma State loss, and the entire stadium was empty. There was the Ball State game. That was surely rock bottom, right? Right? Am I crazy? But Big 12 championship games, mostly bowls. Then we had Pelini. That's all fresh enough for us to remember. We've got many bad losses from that era to remember. There's the Iowa State apple turnover game where we all remember 7-9 or something. I don't know. 7 turnovers, doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, we could go down memory lane forever.
Yeah, and I could go down and down and down the list. So there's Riley, and we remember the 56-14 loss. Regardless, 19-19, I think, Mark, at Nebraska. None of us are Riley defenders here or fans, but there was a Michigan State game we won that was ranked. And it was still one of the worst records since 1961 that he had. So fired, right? In comes our savior. And where do I begin? There's not much you can say that you guys don't already know, that all the listeners don't already know. But I'll skip through the first 3 years just to last year. That first game against Illinois, I think it was Brett Bielema's first game with Illinois. And we thought
last year was really going to be the year we turned it around. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we thought. And when we lost to Illinois, I thought that was rock bottom. I thought that was really rock bottom for the program. And I don't know what to say. At that point, I lost interest. I became somewhat apathetic. But, we all still watch every single week. There's no amount of apathy that can force us to not watch the game. And so I'll fast forward all the way to this game. I keep saying this. I try to say this. I think this may be rock bottom. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe
David,
I'm
I can tell you,
alone.
I'll just stop you there. And thanks for that for the call. You cannot identify rock bottom in the moment. It cannot
No.
be done.
No.
Frost tried to do that in 2018, and I excoriated him for it, and rightfully so. He tried to say the Michigan game was rock bottom. Well, obviously, there were a lot more losses to come and a lot more painful ways to come. So all we know is this. It's hit enough bottom that we know that it's time to find a new guy with the shovel. That's all that really matters at this point. Who cares if this is the bottom? Because it's for Scott Frost, it's his bottom. It's done. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, there's really
He's Ned Stark. He's in the dungeon. He's just waiting for Joffrey to give the order, and someone out there is playing Sansa and saying, "Oh, please don't apologize, I swear." And then Joffrey will change his mind and off with his head.
that's Tom Osborne is playing Sansa.
Yeah.
That's
That's
allegedly who saved.
There's
him
no
last
call
year.
coming from the governor. No one's
no one's
gonna
calling
save
for
him.
the governor.
Yeah.
The axe is coming. It's just a matter of, do we wait and save $7.5 million, or does it happen sooner rather than later and you put everybody out of their misery? Because it is miserable right now. The next few weeks are going to be awkward as hell.
Yeah. It will. Oh, yeah.
Regardless of what happens. I mean, it's just a dead man walking situation here. And what do you do if you're Trev? Like, the fiscally responsible thing to do is to wait until October 1st.
The good news, I mean, like I said, the good news, Robbie, is there's only one more game between now but you technically can't fire him on the 18th because you still have 2 weeks.
Yeah. You have to, I mean, what would make the most sense is to fire him after Oklahoma so that you have the bye week, you can have the interim coach and whatever.
Right.
But you're firing him 2 weeks before the $7.5 million drops off.
So now I am starting to wonder, and I was very adamant that, man, this is going to look poorly on Trev if he goes back on his decision. But now you're almost at a point where you're just like, you know what, we're going to have to choke on that extra 7.5.
I think you're going to have to. I think Trev has to be making calls as we speak to boosters.
My guess is those calls may have already been made.
Maybe, but if he might,
or it'll be easier to make them tonight.
I would say,
or tomorrow morning.
He might be like, "Hey, you still have my Venmo? You still got that Cash App? Because we're gonna need those funds a little sooner than we thought, and we're gonna need about twice as much because this cannot continue.
Yeah,
it just can't."
402-951-1620. Tonight's show is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. By Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, and by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Back with more after this. It's unsportsmanlike conduct, not. It's Big Red Overreaction. Yes. On 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1019 The Keg.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do, do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Sunday morning is all about church, eggs, and the Sunday paper. But right next to church, it's made for hot takes and reactions. Severe Reactions. Michael Severe is back on 1620 The Zone with Severe Reaction. Sundays 8 to 10 and doesn't hold back on what went right and what went wrong on Saturday. He'll also take calls from the most important voice of all, yours. Severe Reaction. Sundays from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Powered by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Only on 1620 The Zone.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The K.
Hey, it's John and Josh
More
here for the
info and
FanDuel
opinions
Sportsbook,
on
and
Big
we
Red
are
than
celebrating
one
the
station
start of
can
the
handle.
NFL season with the no sweat bet for week 1. So if you're one of those fools, those imbeciles, those morons who think that Buffalo overrated, you're going to beat your defending world champion Rams, guess what? If you lose that bet, you get $5 back. That's right. It's a no sweat bet, and it's only available on the FanDuel Sportsbook, Josh, when you use our promo code 1620.
Celebrate the return of football season with the no sweat bet. John, this allows me to bet and root for the Cowboys on the same night, and if they lose, well, that would be very on brand. Download that FanDuel Sportsbook app today, put in our promo code 1620, and take advantage of the no sweat bet. That, of course, is the FanDuel Sportsbook promo code 1620. 21 plus, the present in Iowa. Refund is issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The K. Sound off. 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and More. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Thompson claps the hands, looks over the Golden Eagle defense. Gives it off to Anthony Grant. He's in there. Touchdown. Off the right side as he cut back. Great blocking on the right edge by Ben Hart and Lutovsky and the Huskers for the first time tonight have the lead.
Anthony Grant, 138 yards, average 5 yards a clip. There's his 1 touchdown.
And Nebraska would be 0-3 without him.
They'd be 0-3 without him with maybe double-digit losses in all 3 games.
Oh, would you like the fun Anthony Grant fact of the night?
Let's hear it.
Anthony Grant is the first Husker since 2010 with 100-plus rush yards in his first 2 games. Who was the last one? Taylor Martinez back in 2010.
Well, Anthony Grant got 3 now. He's got 3.
He's got 3.
Yes.
Yeah. He's got 3 100-yard games. Big Red Overreactions brought to you by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and More. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. And by Equitable Bank, we take banking personally, and we take our calls personally, too. Here is Zach. Good evening, Zach.
Good evening, guys. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Appreciate it.
Now, I just wanted to bring you guys the perspective of a disgruntled Hawkeye fan. And this is what I got to say. About 6:30 p.m. tonight, I didn't think there was anything that was going to bring a smile to my face until I tuned in to that Husker game. And boys, I tell you what, that's entertainment. That's entertainment. Extend Frost. Let's make it 7 more in a row. Extend Frost.
Oh, Zach. The Iowa Schadenfreude. Here's Beard Bat. Hi, Beard Bat.
Hey, how's it going, Jen?
Not bad, Beard Bat.
Hey, I just got to call in and say, listen, this Oregon gimmick that Scott Frost has been trying to infuse into Nebraska, and probably ever since Solich was there, the whole change up from the I formation going to this quarterback first mentality instead of the pipeline first, or the black shirts first mentality has all changed to inflated rivals, stars, and paying players. And I don't know. I mean, I just see that as the biggest problem. You got to get back to the basics. You got to get a coach in there that's wanting to be more of like a boot camp drill instructor, getting more discipline into the team, and because I've heard there's not a lot of discipline down there, and I'm not going to yap my gums as much as the last caller, but I'd love to sit back and hear your opinions of that, because I have heard that there's a lackadaisical mentality down there as far as regiment goes, letting players sleep in, things like that. And, hey, I want to sit back and hear what Jeff Bishop and or John Bishop and you guys have to say about that.
Okay, well, and Ravi Lulla. Don't forget Ravi. Well,
thank you.
First of all, I mean, the whole Oregon thing, he hasn't done that in a few years, and he's got a new offensive coordinator. I don't know. Half the things you said there,
I'll say this. I agree that
it's not the reason.
Needs to start with the line.
Yes, absolutely.
I think, but that being said, even if that was Scott Frost's philosophy, the things that we talked about earlier about accountability and responsibility, this still would not work if those things are not in place.
Right.
Because those are, people talk about culture a lot and they think it's about like toughness and they think it's about throwing up 15 to 20 times every practice or whatever nonsense or whatever, right? They think it's about weight room things or they think it's about pushing heavy weight or whatever. That's not what culture is about. Culture is about accountability and responsibility. And that's what's missing from the Scott Frost era.
Yes.
Do I want the next head coach to be trench focused in terms of where he builds his team from? 100%. But you can be as offensive and defensive line focused as you want to be. If you don't have the accountability and responsibility piece on lockdown, nothing else matters.
That's right.
Not a damn thing else matters. That's it. That's the whole ballgame.
Here is Luke on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Hey guys, as far as the two callers ago talking about his happy day with the Nebraska-ism, he was an Iowa fan and he was just really happy about that. I guess he's gonna just not lose sleep because his team's only scored 14 points in the last two games, and that's not all offensive. But either or, I'm a diehard Husker fan. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
As a diehard Husker fan, I've given Frost the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it's just been 5 years, and you're at 16 wins. And, yeah, the offense, I think, is looking great right now. I really trust Thompson. But obviously, the defense is not doing anything. I mean, at that point in the game where they had the opportunity to go an option, and, yeah, obviously they were in their own territory at 4th and 1. I had a friend who just was saying, why not just go for it? Because every time that Georgia Southern had the ball, they were going to score on us. Like, why not go for it? I mean, it was just, we just knew the defense was not going to do anything. And it's just a point right now. It's just, it breaks my heart. I mean, we are Husker fans that were rooting for somebody from the alum that was supposed to bring us to the, bring us back. And he hasn't done it. And it breaks my heart that I want to say that I really hope he is not a part of the Oklahoma game this year.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. By the way, nothing has been said or announced. I know that a lot of people have been wondering. Who knows? I would just say, stay tuned. I mean, like I said, Ned Stark's in the dungeon. We're just waiting for the order. But it's coming at some point.
It has to be. I mean,
it's coming at some point. By the way, this is another loss by Nebraska as a double-digit favorite. They lost her, of course, earlier this year to Northwestern as a double-digit favorite. Nebraska in the last 30 games as a double-digit favorite is 25-5. 3 of the losses now belong to Scott Frost, and 4 of the 5 losses have happened since the Northern Illinois debacle in 2017. As double-digit favorites. And oh, by the way, 3 of them were at home, and 1 of them was a neutral site. So it's not like
not hostile environments.
It's not like they were it's not like they were at the Carrier Dome in Syracuse in 1984 and got beat because, they were on the road. No.
Nope.
This is all at home. And, of course, 214-1 now when scoring 35 points or more in Memorial Stadium. First ever loss. Nebraska scored 35 points in their own crib and lost. Here's JP. JP, please turn your radio down. You're up next.
Hey, gentlemen, I appreciate you bringing me on the call here. I just have a kind of a two-part question, but in general, my thought here is, if you are Trev and, you have these tough decisions to make, who are you calling? Who are you talking to? And what does your next 3 days look like?
If I'm Trev?
Yeah, so you put yourself in his shoes
Mm-hmm.
and you are doing the job. What does your next 3 days look like? Who are you calling? And what does your job look like?
Well, JP, I'm guessing a lot of the legwork has been done. Part of the reason why I think some of the sentiment has shifted over the last few days about this happening before October 1st rather than after comes, and we've had people email us and say, hey, there's certain big money boosters who are like, we were in, and then the Northwestern trip just totally turned us off. So some of the legwork has already been done. I'm guessing that right now you're just dotting your I's and
you're
crossing
making sure
your
the money's
T's.
lined up.
You're looking over the contract. You're making sure, okay, how do we make the clean break? Making sure the money is lined up. And then figuring out, obviously, how the program's going to move forward in the interim.
For the next 9 games. So, yeah, I think tonight you make sure the contract and the money is all lined up.
Yeah.
If I'm Trev, okay, I'm not saying this is happening right now.
Yeah.
But he asked if we're Trev.
Sure.
I'm making sure my boosters are writing their checks right now and getting them to my office no later than tomorrow morning, and making sure the contract with our lawyers and everything is all squared away. Okay, that's step number 1. Step number 2 is putting a succession plan in place for the rest of the season, whether that's Mickey Joseph as your interim head coach.
He is listed as the associate head coach.
So, yeah, that would
by title.
And since he is not one of the coordinators that has to oversee a specific part of the team or call plays for a specific part of the team, he kind of makes the most sense, both by title and role, to take over as interim head coach. The third thing I do, I start calling agents. I start calling Matt Campbell's agent.
Yeah.
Start calling Bill O'Brien's agent. Start making the calls to whoever's on his list. I know who's on my list. I don't know who's on his list. But I imagine you're looking at a Matt Campbell. I imagine you're looking at Bill O'Brien. I imagine you're looking at maybe a Chris Kleinman. We've talked about Kyle Whittingham, who I like. But you start making those back channel conversations.
Yeah, you're not talking to the head coaches specifically because they're in season, but you're talking to their reps.
You're not talking to anybody at this point in the season directly. You're making your back channel calls to say, hey, would this guy even be interested? And then you kind of get along in the process. You gauge interest. And then maybe in a few weeks, you sit down with somebody or have a phone call with somebody, the coach themselves, and say, hey, how interested are you really? Is this something we can get done? Obviously, you're going to finish out your season. We're going to finish out our season. But that conversation probably doesn't take place for another 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, at least.
I mean, you're probably talking about November,
Yeah,
end of October, early November, before you start having a conversation with an actual coach. But for the next 3 days, that's the game plan.
But you're gauging. I mean, you're
gauging interest with representatives of coaches.
Correct.
From
and,
now,
and if you're swinging for a fence, let's say you're going, and I know Dabo just signed this big extension, but let's say you're
going for Fickle.
Let's say you're going for Fickle. Let's say you're going for Dabo,
Aranda,
or whoever. Yeah. I've said, hey, I'd throw $15 million at Ryan Day and say, I'm going to make you turn us down and make them pay him more, whatever the case may be. So if you have that home run, you're just gauging
Kiffin. If you're me, I love Kiffin.
You're gauging right now. Hey, is there any interest here? Right. Yes. And then if there's not a reciprocation back, then you're moving on.
You cross them off the list and call the next.
And
agent.
then you go, and then at some point, once you've gotten past your home run hires or home run list,
you land on
you go to
you land on a list of about 5 or 6 guys,
your gettable guys,
that whether they're home run guys that are like, I'd listen, or they're your gettable list. To me, that's your O'Brien, Campbell, Leipold, Kleinman list. That's your gettable guys. I really like Jamie Chadwell from Coastal Carolina. That's a big risk to me.
Yes.
But those type of guys that you could get, maybe a couple of your home run guys show some interest. That's where you're at in the process for about the next month and a half, is gauging interest, gauging how much money it would take, and lining those things up so that the day their season is over, you can start having, be prepared to make an announcement basically the week or the few days after the season is officially over.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have everything listen, if you're firing Scott Frost today or tomorrow
or next week or whenever it is,
October 1st, whenever, right? I don't think very many of us thinks he survives past October 1st at this point. Whenever you fire him, whether it's now or October 1st, you have to make sure that at the earliest conceivable moment, you have your next head coach ready to go, because you can't afford to fire him now or in 3 weeks and then be sitting here on December 1st and not have a head coach announced. That's not a viable plan. So you need to do everything in your power if you're Trev Alberts between now and then to make sure that as soon as Nebraska season's over, as soon as your next head coach's season's over, you can make an announcement.
Now, what if you're in a situation now? Last year, obviously, we saw literally within hours of losing a regular season finale that Lincoln Riley departed for USC.
Yeah.
Those cases are pretty rare.
Yes.
So if you're looking at a coach who's going to be playing deep into the season, playing a conference championship game or on the cusp of a conference championship game or on the cusp of a college football playoff, maybe not playoff appearance, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Will you be able to wrestle someone away before their season is done if you're shooting that high?
So I think anyone short of a college football playoff appearance will leave when their regular season is over.
Right.
Okay. So even if that's let's use Matt Campbell, for example. Let's say Iowa State is playing for the Big 12 title, but they've got 3 losses.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to the playoff, right?
Yeah.
I think you could still get him away from Iowa State before the conference championship game because they're not going to the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
The only situation I can see it being a problem if you have a Luke Fickell situation with Notre Dame last year, where if he's not playing in the playoff last year, I think he's your head coach at Notre Dame. And as long as you don't have that situation, which I don't anticipate, by the way, of the teams that I think are likely to make the playoff, those guys are not on Nebraska's list of gettable guys, most likely. So I think as soon as the regular season is over, regardless of what's happening with a conference championship, I think you can get that guy away. Obviously, the bowl games don't matter at all.
Right.
But I think you can get a guy that's maybe playing for a conference championship. I think you can at least make an announcement. Maybe his school lets him coach in that game still.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that before. That's not a huge deal. But I think you have to be able to get that thing locked down and make that announcement basically immediately after the regular season is over, especially if you fire him now. Because the
earlier you fire somebody, it kind of moves the timeline up on everything.
And honestly, that's at least outside of just getting him out of our lives. That's the purpose of firing him early, right? Is so that you have the ability to hire someone as soon as possible and move on into recruiting in the offseason and the transfer portal and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that part of it's essential, is that you make a hire and announcement as soon as possible.
402-951-1620. Final bank of calls when we come back. This is our final break. All of our great coverage. We appreciate you being out there tonight. Brought to you by Burton. When you're plumb uncertain, just call Burton. By Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, and by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Back with the final segment of Big Red Overreaction after this on 1620 The Zone, 1019 The Keg, and 1620thezone.com.
Sunday morning is all about church, eggs, and the Sunday paper. But right next to church, it's made for hot takes and reactions. Severe Reactions. Michael Severe is back on 1620 The Zone with Severe Reaction. Sundays 8 to 10, and doesn't hold back on what went right and what went wrong on Saturday. He'll also take calls from the most important voice of all, yours. Severe Reaction. Sundays from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Powered by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Only on 1620 The Zone.
It's Big Red Overreaction. Brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Right now with Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more, you can get a furnace safety check and cleaning for only $55 and 5 cans of food. In other words, as you turn on the heat and turn in 5 cans of food, you'll help support our community by feeding families in need. All donations go to benefit Food Bank for the Heartland. Book your service today at justcallburton.com.
Hello, I'm Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. If you've been dissatisfied with your current banking situation, maybe it's time to move to a bank that works to deserve your business. We have an engaged staff that offers exceptional personalized service. We also have a great digital banking platform. We have 2 locations at 108th and Dodge or 202nd and Pacific. So if you're looking for a superior banking relationship, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The K. Sound off 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
One of the people whose name has been mentioned a few times, Kalani Sitake of BYU, despite playing without their top 2 receivers, BYU tied at 20, driving with a minute to go against Baylor, number 9 Baylor. They're at their own 39-yard line.
I love Kalani Sitake. I think he's an incredible football coach. My concerns with both him and Whittingham is I don't know if they're leaving the state of Utah.
Ooh, Baylor almost got a pick there at midfield. 49 seconds left, 2020. We could have another overtime game.
Uh-oh.
Here is Mike. Mike, thanks for waiting. You're on Big Red Overreaction.
Hey, I appreciate you taking my call.
You're welcome.
I just want to say I don't think when Scott was hired that anybody could really argue that that wasn't the splash hire that we were looking for. But after the last season where it seemed like Trev had to come in and make the calls to make some changes that should have been done probably a year before, that we're now seeing the common denominator is Scott Frost. What I haven't really heard, and I've thought a little bit about, and I've seen some talk about it, is do we sell out and go for an Urban Meyer with the baggage that he carries? Is that something that are we at that point that we'd go for that? In the worst case scenario, we end up with a Ryan Day type of coordinator that takes over the program. And I'll let you guys talk on that.
Mike, we addressed this earlier, but we're both out on Urban Meyer. There's
too much baggage.
There's too much baggage. There's too much PR hit that you can take. And at best, short-term gain, long-term loss, because it never ends well with Urban and things usually end up on fire. Nebraska's not in a place as a program that can survive Urban Meyer setting the place on fire like at Ohio State, because he left behind a lot of
the cupboard was fully stocked at Ohio State.
Cupboard was fully stocked, and they left with all of his good coaches. So yeah, and Nebraska. And honestly, I think Urban Meyer right now is damaged goods as a coach, because I really think the Jacksonville experience really knocked him down.
Well, and aside from all that, he seems like such a personality mismatch with Trev. I don't see that happening.
And a personality mismatch with Nebraska.
Yeah, just the state.
And that's not to say it's going to be a Nebraska. It's not what I'm saying. But I think short-term game at best, long-term dumpster fire. Here's Jordan. Hi, Jordan. Thanks for waiting. You're on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. First-time caller, long-time listener. Native of Beatrice, Nebraska. So, home state guy. Hey, one of the things I wanted to touch on, one of the things I really wanted to talk about is, you hear it kind of all over the media, Nebraska is damaged goods. As far as our head coaching position, you always hear, like, well, who would want to take the job? You had Scott Frost, and you gave him some time, and obviously he didn't produce, but kind of the question is who are you going to bring in? Who is going to be that guy that's really going to make things happen? And honestly, at least from my perspective, the way I kind of look at it is, if anything, I think that it shows that we have the willingness to work with somebody. We have the willingness to give someone the time to build that program. Thoughts on that? I don't know, guys.
Yeah, I think this is actually a good job and a better job than people realize. And that's not me being a homer. That's me looking at the facts, right?
Yeah.
I think, Jordan, that's like you mentioned, the patience that Trev Alberts has shown, I think is a positive for the next hire. They can look at it and say, listen, this guy gave you no reason to keep him, and you kept him.
Right.
Okay.
I think 90% of the athletic directors in the country would have let him go last year.
That might be low. That might be a low number. Trev might have been the only athletic director in the country that would not have let him go. So yeah, I think coaches will look at that and say, hey, they've shown patience with guys before, even though those guys gave them no reason to. I think you look at it and say, listen, this is a school and a university and a state that is committed to winning football, both with their support and with their resources. You have a brand new facility that's being built. You have plenty of NIL dollars to go around.
Yes.
And for the first time, maybe ever, certainly pre-Devaney, you have incredibly reasonable expectations.
Yeah, the expectations aren't quite the same as before.
Because right now, if you can go to a bowl game every year and be in the conversation when the calendar hits November for your division title, people are going to be happy for a while at least. You're going to get a pretty long runway if that's where you're trending.
As long as you can get to that point. Yeah, because we got to be careful, because obviously Frost was going to get a long runway.
We did get a long runway.
We just didn't expect the runway to run through the sand trap, past the barrier, through the grove of trees, into the adjacent neighborhood, wiping out 24 homes.
And then straight into hell. So, and then here's the other thing is people always talk about it's so hard to recruit to Nebraska, blah, blah, blah. Listen, guys that have been good recruiters have recruited well here.
Yeah.
Mike Riley, for all of his faults, is a good recruiter, recruited well here. Bill Callahan, for all his faults, recruited well here.
Recruited exceptionally well.
Tom Osborne, good recruiter, recruited well here. So the guys that have had any sort of penchant for recruiting have recruited well here.
Yeah.
Look at the guys that Mickey Joseph has brought in just in 6 months since getting here.
Even with Bo and with Frost, they've still been top 25. That should be good enough
to make bowl games.
Certainly to make bowl games, to compete in the West. Yes, it should be. Now we could have the argument: are they getting the right types of 3 and 4 star players?
That's a different conversation
up here,
and even skill set wise. You can get a 4-star drop back quarterback, but if you're running a QB run heavy offense, that's not going to work out that well. So that's a different conversation. But the fact is you can get guys to come here.
Yes.
And maybe not Ohio State guys, but guys good enough to compete for the West Division, you can get those guys to come here. So that's the biggest obstacle. And it's been proven over the last 25 years that if you're any good at recruiting, you can do it. So I think it is a good job. And you're going to get paid probably $6 million plus to come here and do it, depending on who they hire. If they're hiring a current Power 5 head coach, like a Matt Campbell, for example, you're probably going to get $6 million to come do this job, maybe a little more.
Oh, I think BYU just missed a 35-yard field goal to win it.
Would have won it.
They're going to go to overtime. I think right now the minimum. I think the next coach minimum will make at least 7.5.
Okay, so again, that's good money. That's SEC money. That's big time football money. Okay, so the only argument you really have is in state you don't have a ton of talent, right? But as we've seen, that's an overcomable obstacle. This isn't trying to recruit at Notre Dame where you have academics that are out through the roof. This isn't trying to recruit at Stanford where you have academics that are through the roof. This is a doable job.
Yes.
And there's plenty of guys that I think are going to look at this landscape and they're going to look at Trev and say, this guy gave Scott Frost an extra year when he had no business getting an extra year. And that's going to be really appealing. I'm not saying you're going to pull a, college football playoff head coach. I'm not saying you're going to pull a Dabo or one of those guys. What I am saying is I think there's going to be real interest in this job from really good candidates.
Ray. Good evening, Ray.
Hey fellas. I wanted to tell you, you hit the nail on the head about accountability. And there's three things that I think that we need in the next coach. And that is that they need to be hungry. They need to be humble. They need to be smart. And in the middle of all that is accountability. So just wanted to say you nailed that one, and appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you. Jake is up next on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Kegs. Big Red Overreaction.
Hey guys.
Go ahead, Jake.
Hey, kind of piggybacking on what Ravi just said, I was going to ask you guys, is there any other job that you can think of in the Big Ten where they are, I guess any other coach is kind of on the hot seat right now, or looking at, if they have a losing season or something like that, that they're going to get fired?
In the Big Ten?
Yeah.
Maryland, maybe?
I was thinking maybe Tom Allen at Indiana.
Yeah, maybe.
They're pretty patient.
But they're pretty patient.
Especially considering he's been successful there in the past. I know they were really bad last year.
I suppose, sorry, Greg and Lincoln, if Purdue took a dump this year.
They were like 9-3 last year, though. Do you think
that's true.
They've been too good to
I'm just trying to think maybe in the extreme.
Maybe Maryland.
I don't think there's really a lot. No.
The reason I ask is because I almost look at the coaching positions in the Big Ten almost like quarterback contracts in the NFL. It's always best to be the next one kind of up to get that next big contract.
Yeah.
With everything happening in the Big Ten to where you have USC and UCLA coming in and opening up the footprint into California, the Big Ten just signed what was it, like $1.2 billion TV contract. So you got TV money coming in.
Yep.
I almost, I guess, respectfully think the names the names that you guys have said and that I've seen online and people are talking about, it's almost like I think we could shoot higher, because with that Nebraska being the next new job in the Big Ten, it's going to be a hell of a lot more attractive than I think we give it credit for.
Well, I think you're right, Jake, and appreciate the call. A name that I don't think we brought up yet. I think Dave Aranda is one to look at.
We've mentioned him in passing. I think Dave Aranda is a really good coach. I think there's going to be high profile interest in this job. I just don't know what names that necessarily looks like and what those names in terms of compatibility with Trev and the program look like.
One of the things you have to consider for those of you wanting Nebraska to swing for the highest fence is you have to give them something more attractive than what they already have.
Yeah.
The reason why A&M was able to swipe Jimbo Fisher was because Jimbo and the administration at Florida State weren't seeing eye to eye, and Jimbo didn't feel he was getting enough, financial and
resources for facilities and recruiting.
Exactly.
And
so that was a
jets and all
unique
that
situation.
stuff.
If there is a situation like that out there where there's somebody who might seem like they're in a great situation, but underneath the surface, they're not. Certainly, that's an area where if Trev's got his ear to the ground and he's hearing things from other people, if he's hearing, hey, so-and-so's not quite happy here, so-and-so's not quite happy there. But if you're going to go out and try to steal away
that's why
already a great coach, they have to be willing to leave a situation that right now
is better than Nebraska.
Is a lot better than Nebraska.
At least on the field. That's why Matt Campbell makes so much sense, because Iowa State can't offer a lot of the resources Nebraska can.
Correct.
Iowa State can't offer the money Nebraska can. Iowa State can't offer a lot of those things that Nebraska can.
And I think that's where, and I agree with you on Whittingham. He probably won't leave, but you look for coaches like that in leagues that aren't Big Ten or SEC.
Yeah.
who are really good
and that may be a little nervous about the future of their conference
and the future of their school
That's
and
why
their place in the world.
Maybe a Kalani Sitake. BYU's moving to the Big 12.
Right.
I'm obviously Whittingham in the Pac-12 right now.
Or Luke Fickell.
Luke Fickell going to the Big 12. You're like, how good do you really feel there?
It's a damn shame that things have gone so south for David Shaw.
I loved David Shaw.
He would be great.
But he also
But man, I don't know if you can sell that higher.
I don't think you can sell that higher. Honestly, the guy that I think I don't know that Nebraska can get him, but the guy that fits that bill that you're talking about is Luke Fickell.
Mm-hmm.
Not really sure about Cincinnati money-wise.
They're moving up, but they're still a level down.
And you're still moving into a league that the future is really uncertain in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And there's no way, I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but there's no way that Cincinnati's offering the facility, resources, and money
they can't.
That Nebraska can.
That's right.
You can't recruit the same level of kid to Cincinnati as you can to Nebraska. And I understand Ohio is a more fertile ground, but you're like 8th in the pecking order in Ohio because you're getting Pennsylvania in there. You're getting Kentucky and all the Southeastern Conference teams are in there. You are not high in the pecking order in Ohio if you're Cincinnati. So what good does it really do you to be? It's like being South Florida in Florida. It's like, you have access to Florida kids. You have access to like the 6th tier Florida kids.
Yeah.
Right? That's the same access to Florida kids that Nebraska has right now, right?
Yeah.
So how much good does it really do you to be in that state if you're not getting the state's top talent?
They have started overtime. Baylor gets the ball first, and it looks like this touchdown is going to be called back. There's a flag on Baylor. Here's Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
We're awake still.
Doing great. Going strong.
Just imagine. But anyway, you guys kind of already answered my question because I was just like, well, my thing was with the way Nebraska's been going, I was thinking that you need to go after a big splash hire, but it seems like at this point, I'm kind of feeling Ravi with the Matt Campbell hire, somebody that can build from the inside out. So it's just that's just what I got right now.
Yeah.
I think Campbell's a great hire. Like if that's where, like,
I'm still on the Matt Campbell bus.
I get that it's maybe not quite as sexy as like a Luke Fickell or some of the other names we've talked about, but Matt Campbell's a really good hire. Like, make no mistake about it, he's got a history as an O-line coach. Iowa State's one of the hardest places in the country to win.
Yes,
and you're dealing with a lot of the same challenges that you do at Nebraska without most of the advantages.
Correct.
So winning there at all at a consistent level is incredible. Like, Matt Campbell is a very, very good hire, and I think he is very gettable because I think he's at the ceiling of his situation, right? There's only so high you can go at Iowa State, and I think he got there 2 years ago, and then being top 10 preseason last year. I think he's at his ceiling at Iowa State. If he can hit the ceiling at Nebraska, it's a higher ceiling than Iowa
Much
State.
higher ceiling. Last call of the night belongs to Jack. Hi, Jack.
Let's go, Jack.
Good morning, guys. Some perspective for you. I currently work in college athletics, and I have for over 20 years. So I talk to our coaches at the school I work for Division I school in the Mountain West. So I talk to our coaches all the time, and I'm not a Nebraska native, didn't go to school in Nebraska, but I respect Nebraska, and they've been my kind of closet team since the 80s. So I keep up with it. Obviously, I'm talking to you guys, so I follow it quite religiously. And talking to people I know in the profession, the Kyle Whittingham thing it's a non-starter. I believe he's 62 years old. He loves Utah. He almost retired last year after the Rose Bowl because he thought that was kind of the zenith of bringing Utah into the Pac-12 and getting to the Rose Bowl. He's closer to retirement than leaving for any job. I don't think that would ever happen, just talking to people I know at the University of Utah. That being said, the coaches I've talked to, I think everyone is selling the Nebraska job short for the reasons everyone else talked about. But for the major reason is the NIL opportunities. The coaches talk nonstop about NIL and how they can recruit with NIL. And in a place like Nebraska, where you can get an organized collective and the whole state rallies behind the program and the whole state's involved, there's opportunities there that you don't get at a lot of places. And if you combine that with the Big Ten TV money that you have, there would be no shortage of people that want that job. So I don't think there's going to be any problem getting a bigger name coach if that's the direction that Trev wants to go in. I'm not so certain that is the proper direction. I'm of the opinion that a developmental coach would be good because I think you can recruit to Nebraska, but I think you have to have the right identity. I heard you say before that you thought that Chadwell from Coastal Carolina is a risk. I agree to a certain extent, but I think he has an identity. His program has an identity I think that Nebraskans would identify with and relate with. And I think that he's done more with less than any program in America. And I think if you gave him Nebraska's resources and he can develop guys and recruit guys to fit his system, I think offensively they'd be a juggernaut. And if he had a good defensive coach, I think Nebraska would do very well with him. But that's all I have to say, guys. Appreciate the time.
Hey, appreciate it, Jack. And on that note, Baylor just missed a field goal in overtime, so all BYU needs to do is get some points, and they will win in OT. So here's the situation, my friends. Tomorrow morning, almost exactly 7 hours from now, Michael Severe will be sitting in this chair. And so those of you who didn't get in tonight, or those of you who are going to stay up and drink until tomorrow, just keep it right here on 1620 The Zone or 1620thezone.com because Michael will be here. He'll have more of the post-game audio, I'm sure, and his thoughts on everything. And then after that, well, when things happen, we're the place to be.
As of 1 a.m. Sunday morning, Scott Frost is still your head coach.
Yes.
That's all we know for now.
If things should change, you'll know this is the place to be.
I imagine there would be round-the-clock coverage if something were to happen.
I don't know about round the clock.
24/7.
I imagine
at least
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
At least 6A to 6P.
Where it's always AM radio.
Hey, thanks to producer Dan, Ravi, John. It's been great being up with you tonight, and now I get to drive back to Lincoln. That's gonna be fun.
At least you're going. I don't know if there's any traffic still. We've been.
I
on
don't
the
think
air
there's
for a
any
while.
traffic.
Although I think Josh just got home.
Yeah, he said he was a 2-hour plus drive.
That's a rough drive. At least you're going against the.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not worried about traffic.
What
I'm worried about is any Husker fans who decided to stop on any of the various overpasses and just do the swan dive.
Well,
and I'm dodging that. But
hopefully we don't have any.
Hopefully we don't have that,
guys. It's not that serious. It's sad, but it's not that serious.
Exactly.
You'll
There'll be
okay.
another day,
and the'll be another head coach.
There'll be another day
sooner rather than later. It'll be all right.
It could be worse. It could be. And BYU just missed a field goal.
Oh, seriously?
Well, at least I have a game to listen to on the way home.
There you
for
go.
a little while.
There
all
you
right.
go.
Thanks to all of our great sponsors: Burton Plumbing, Heating, AC, and more. Equitable Bank, Coors Light. Again, Michael Severe tomorrow at 8 a.m. And whatever else happens after that, we're your place to be. 1620 The Zone. For Ravi Lulla, I'm John Bishop. Good night, everybody.